I'm here with Gino.
Hey, Danger, coming with them bangers. Tell me where my paper. Still on the same mission, trying to live major. Don't hate me, hate the game. I'm a player. Feeling like Pac. Represent on my block. Try to knock me down, but I come up on top. Yeah, they wanna see me flop. Got a plot, want a lot. I won't stop on my pops. Got so many flows, it's insane. They don't really understand the game. Got a plan and it's plain, I ain't playing. I'm just trying to gain. I wanna get that big bag, need that big Rex. Blow up Tic Tac with a blue cheese at. I don't give a fuck about your feedback. Eat that, get back, sit back, watch me spit that kickback. Got so many flows, yeah, they think that I'm insane. Ghetto kids in a lot of pain, all about the bills, ain't shit changed. Danger, coming with them bangers. Tell me where my paper. Still on the same mission, trying to live major. Don't hate me, hate the game, I'm a player. If you a hater, I don't hate you. I'm just really happy that I ain't you. I just wanna thank you. You kept me motivated, so now I motivate you. There's a lot of cake, money on my mind like a banker. Coming through with them bangers, ain't no room for mistakes. Lot of stake, hustle till we get a lot of rooms, lot of stakes. Good kid, but I keep it gangsta. All gas, no brakes. Got cash for the case. More cash in the case. More cash in the safe. More cash on the way. Hustling all day. Ay. Danger, coming with them bangers. Tell me where my paper. Still on the same mission, trying to live major. Don't hate me, hate the game. I'm a player.
Danger, coming with the bangers. Where my fucking paper.
Said I'm taking big shots, just stop where I'm driven, no pit stops. This hot, I ain't playing like a 6 spot. Pissed off, thought I told him this a chip shot. I ain't missing cause you know I'm taking big shots. Just stop where I'm driven, no pit stops. This hot, I ain't playing like a 6 spot. Pissed off, thought I told him this a chip shot. I ain't missing cause you know I'm taking big shots. They been trying to get me cheap like a thrift shop, but I told them it's my time, shit the wristwatch. They been talking way before they even doing something. Whoa. If they wanna play, let's get a tip off. Ain't no silver lining, dawg, this some rose gold. Getting new money, I'm a old soul. Yeah, I get it bouncing like a pogo. Whoa. And I'm too cold like Frozone. And my chick elastic, girl. Told them we ain't in the fake and this ain't plastic, girl. Bought a new whip and cash, now my taxi thorough. Way I'm shooting like step, but my pass is bro. The way I'm playing the field, I'm in a league of my own. And now they all in they fields, I got them all on my phone. But dog, I'm hitting the climb, I got no time on the low. Way I'm shooting is messy, the way I'm hitting the goals. I'm taking big shots, just stop. Way I'm driven, no pit stops. This hot, I ain't playing like a 6 spot. Pissed off, thought I told him this a chip shot. I ain't missing cause you know I'm taking big shots. Just stop, where I'm driven, no pit stops. This hot, I ain't playing like a 6 spot. Pissed off, thought I told him this a chip shot. I ain't missing cause you know I'm taking big shots. I just left, but you know I'm coming back though. Whoa. And you know I don't play by my rags though. Now go and turn it up to the max, whoa. Send a paper to me now like a fax, whoa. Yeah. Got 2 phones ringing off the hook now. When I'm in the city, I get looks now. I was going bad, but I'm good now. Said I had to go and put my foot down. Told them I'ma get it and go. Nah. Even in the summer, man, they knowing I'm cold. I got a couple checks coming that I made off the flows. Might get a couple more popping if I do it some more. I gotta do it for real. Said I'm back in my bag. All my digits are climbing just like they all on the dash. And they tell me slow down, cause dog, I'm moving too fast. Might go and cop me a Tesla, cause dog, I still got a gas. Said I'm taking big shots. Just stop, where I'm driven, no pit stops. This hot, I ain't playing like a 6 spot. Pissed off, thought I told him this a chip shot. I ain't missing cause you know I'm taking big shots. Just stop, where I'm driven, no pit stops. This hot, I ain't playing like a 6 spot. Pissed off, thought I told him this a chip shot. I ain't missing cause you know I'm taking big shots. Just stop, where I'm driven, no pit stops. This hot, I ain't playing like a 6 spot. Pissed off, thought I told him this a chip shot. I ain't missing cause you know I'm taking big shots.
Here we go, at the top of the class on a roll, and it's time to run it up, yeah, you know. Maxed out, put the pedal to the floor, ayy, on a roll, here we go, yeah, we winning by a landslide. Never see me coming, I'm a landmine. Yeah, I ain't taking orders in command, like, yeah, you about to see me on demand, like, you know, on demand. If you ain't know, you about to understand. Yeah, I got the team by my side, right hand. Yeah, take it to a string, you ain't seen it like that. Yeah, and it's the dream, and we coming for the bag. Yeah, and we ain't never going back now. Future expedited, now we on the fast track now. They won't lend a hand, now they see us on the map now. It's time to act out. Here we go, at the top of the class on a roll, and it's time to run it up, yeah, you know. Maxed out, put the pedal to the floor, ayy, on the roll, here we go, yeah. At the top of the class on a roll, ayy, and it's time to run it up, yeah, you know, yeah. Maxed out, put the pedal to the floor, yeah. On the roll, here we go, here we go. Here we go, at the top of the class on a roll, and it's time to run it up, yeah, you know. Maxed out, put the pedal to the floor, ayy, on a roll, here we go, yeah. At the top of the class on a roll, ayy, and it's time to run it up, yeah, you know, yeah. Maxed out, put the pedal to the floor, yeah. On a roll, here we go, here we go. Here we go. On a roll, here we go, here we go.
What is going on, Mafia? Welcome back to the Frankie Candles live stream. Bitcoin went to the bathroom here, guys, dropping, currently sitting at $59,393. And if you guys tuned in to the live stream last night, you will, we're going to go over that because daily money flow ended up playing out almost about to give us a new lower low. Money flow very rarely lies, guys. Money flow is absolutely goated. This keeps us on the right side of the trades constantly. And, of course, we had key levels of support down below, and those got absolutely melted through. So I'm going to go over exactly what we were looking at last night. What has changed here as we got absolutely no reaction at the support. And as you guys know, even if we came down to that support, that was going to be an area for scalp longs. My thought process there was that those levels were likely not going to hold. Even if we did bounce, we would likely end up in a lower high and a lower low. And looks like Bitcoin wants to go ahead and expedite the process here. So we're going to cover all the key levels to the downside, guys. Where are we going next? Where is the next good support? Hopefully the next level holds up. We'll cover the higher time frames as well as the lower time frames. Shorts are absolutely printing. Shout out, I see a bunch of people in the chat in the shorts. So shout out to anybody there in the shorts. Don't forget to pay yourself when you're in the green, guys, because if you don't, you could very quickly go red. But shout out to the Mafia. Welcome in, guys. Thank you for being here. Shout out to Ralia. Welcome in. We got M-Dog in the chat. Visionary Pulse. XRP below $1. Yikes. We got Darren Dustings in here. Holding it down, I believe, is our solo mod. Maybe someone else will pop in a minute. But shout out to Darren. Thank you for being here, bro. I appreciate you. We got BTS in the chat. We got Trembler. What is going on, bro? Nick Dunn and Cranky Fandles, one of the best names in the game. But, guys, we got a lot to look at here, so let's go ahead and jump on into the charts. Let's get into it. All right, guys. So, good Lord. Big old drop to the downside. Now, if you guys tuned into the live stream last night, overall, with our daily money flow coming into the red, this keeps us bearish for an eventual lower low to come in, which could eventually bring us down very close. Maybe we'll see it on the live stream right now. Below the $59,000, call it $59,200 low. Of course, money flow does indicate the overall trend, indicating that we will very likely see that downtrend continue. Now, of course, we did have the money flow on the medium time frame starting to kind of try to fake us out here. But as we looked at this over the past couple of live streams, overall, when you just draw a simple line here, money flow generally trending to the downside, and of course, the daily money flow coming out with that being the higher time frame. Oftentimes, those high time frames can kind of delete a little bit of that wish-washy noise you see here on the lower time frames. So, always going to put a little bit more weight on the daily if we were able to see some kind of bigger push up. Of course, talking about that being the least likely scenario, the higher higher probability was at least to see this volume profile fill in full. Yesterday on the live stream, we were bouncing off of I wouldn't say a very large key level, but we were bouncing off of the golden pocket, or the bottom of the golden pocket. We got the first tap here at the top, still had the bottom untapped. We were getting a little bit of a bounce, but our exact anticipation, guys, was to look at these as scalps for lackluster bounces, lower highs, and lower lows, because not only did we have the daily money flow crossing red, but we also had the 4-hour. Anytime you see this money flow in the red, guys, of course, you can always bounce off of support, but you had two things working against you here. Number one, you were inside the profile. Once you lose the high, next likely place for price to go is the POC. Once you lose that POC, of course, you can get little bing bongs up and down. But overall, you're expecting that volume profile to fill in full, on top of the fact that you have the daily and even the 4-hour money flow coming out. And I can actually bring this up in the premium Discord. We literally were looking for this exact move for potential long positions down at our key support. But obviously, guys, as you know, I'm a reactionary-based trader. If you just melt through support like this, there's no confirmations to go long. So obviously, these are always areas of interest. I never set limit orders. Once we come into that zone, I'm sitting on the chart. I'm watching the live price action, seeing if we can get any confirmations, and keeping the Mafia updated here in the Discord, letting them know I'm being patient down here because there was no good reaction at first. But even the other day, as we were bouncing off this golden pocket, expecting some kind of lackluster bounce. Of course, that is a scalpable long, but looking for the overall lower high and lower low. And again, guys, simply based off the money flow, it is so easy to look at. It's red. It's like, I guess purple in my case. But, it's just so simple to keep you on the right side of those trades. And what did we see happen? We saw the lackluster bounce to the upside, the lower high, and the lower low. Now, of course, we did not take this long position down here at the lows because we just melted through this price action, right? No confirmations, no trade. 3 checklists. Hit the key level, look for the confirmations, and see if you have confluence. We hit the key level, but there were no confirmations, right? So we obviously melted through that level like butter. And even yesterday, talking about if we did even get a bounce here, although the level, to be honest, was very, very stacked. We had massive, massive levels down here. We had daily MPOCs, weekly horizontals, daily horizontals, the value area low, the 786, massive levels here. But even if we did get a bounce here, guys, overall anticipation based off money flow would be a lackluster bounce, lower high, lower low. And I'm going to talk about why I do think that the next major area to look at least over the medium term, is going to be about $58,000. At this point, obviously, I could take this blue box off. This level got absolutely melted through. Actually, I'm going to keep it up here. Right now, there is really nothing down here, right? Other than just looking for sweeps of liquidity here. Of course, you can come down and sweep liquidity. But when we look at our horizontal levels, of course, the next major zone of support is going to be sitting down here at about $58,000. Now, this is part of a much wider zone of support, leading us all the way down. This weekly MPOC, you guys watched me pull this on the live stream last night. It keeps getting deleted, but it's at about 60. Let me just pull this up. It is at 56,464. It's kind of embarrassing that I remember that. Bada boom. Make it a weekly MPOC. So this is part of a much larger zone of support. So when we take a look at the higher time frames in a minute, of course, this zone does run all the way down through, down to about $54,000. And we'll even cover some lower levels than that. But, when it comes from to a trading perspective, right, even if we're just going to get a little bit of a bounce here, this is going to be the next local level to look at if you're looking for those longs. And yeah, to be quite honest, guys, even when we take the ranges off the chart, right, massive, massive confluence on the key levels here, and then just really nothing underneath us. We talked yesterday about, if we're not able to hold this, or we can't slip it and then reclaim it, right, there's no reason to look for a bounce. And if we bounce from here, to be honest, all this key support is now going to flip into resistance. And I do think if we do get the bounce, daily money flow is still coming out. My anticipation is going to be exactly the same as yesterday. Now, we were looking at some key levels here yesterday. We did have a golden pocket sitting here. We just barely front ran that golden pocket. But of course, simply giving that lower high and lower low. It's going to be the same thing down here. We have all this major support that is very likely to flip into resistance. So if we do get any kind of bounce before we hit the key levels, right? Because again, Key levels, that's an area of interest. No reaction, no trade. Once we lose that, the next area of interest is just simply sitting down here. And I think this is really important to go over because yesterday we were talking like, could you bounce from here? Sure, right? But it is absolutely 100% the lower probability scenario based on what I just explained in the beginning of the stream, right? Inside the volume profile, looking for the value area low rotation, money flow coming out, etc. That's how we're able to call these moves. But in the same kind of way, right? There's nothing really here. We had that one level. Other than that, this key support was all clustered down here. And in this case, there's literally nothing underneath us right now. Unless we get some SFPs from these lows, right? Like any of these wicks, you could, I mean, maybe we get an SFP right now. If we can SFP this level, maybe you get a little bit of a bounce. But any push to the upside at this point, guys, has to be looked at as lackluster. Lower highs, lower lows. Unfortunately, targeting at first that $58,000, I would say at this point, somewhat local key level of macro support. I will be interested in bounces down here. I'll be interested in long positions. And one of the big things that we like about this level down here, guys, is if we do end up coming down and tapping that $58,000 level, we would have a couple of things taking place, right? We would have the key level tapped. We would also have lower lows on our price action, higher lows on our momentum waves here on the daily, giving us a daily bullish divergence, which if we can print that, will likely give us some kind of a bounce to the upside. Now, again, if all our money flow is continuing out, we may have to continue to look at that as lower highs and lower lows, which we could start talking about those much lower levels. But as of right now, I would say locally, shout out to anybody that watched the live stream yesterday because we literally, I don't say this to brag. I don't say this to say, oh my God, we were right. I've been wrong before. I will be wrong again. It's not about being right or wrong. It's about educating you guys and telling you, coming up here live and talking about exactly why I look for these things to happen. And when it plays out, it's a beautiful, beautiful teaching opportunity for the Mafia, or a learning opportunity for the Mafia. The only thing that would have made this more perfect is if we came up and tapped that golden pocket. That's the only thing that we didn't get there. But at the end of the day, we are absolutely right on track here. Unfortunately, I would have loved to at least hold this a little bit to get some kind of a bounce. But of course, right, even explaining throughout all of this price action why I am not closing my shorts. Why did I add to my short position as we came up to retrace into $67,000? We covered this in a market update saying if we get all the way up here, I will add to that short position because the overall anticipation with daily money flow coming out is to put in a lower high and eventually a lower low. And it looks like we are very likely well on our way to do that. So hopefully you guys have learned something if you've been tuning into the live stream, seeing this all play out. And you can apply this to really any chart, right? Whether you're trading stocks for it doesn't matter, right? Obviously, I trade all crypto basically. But it all works the same, right? Money flow works the same. The volume profiles work the same. You can use the exact same strategies, etc. So yeah, I mean, that begs the question, where's the next key support? We've been talking about it down here at $58,000. This is my personal preferred situation, right? I talked about this. Not only am I holding my long, my smaller long position that I compounded, but I am also holding big swing longs. This is the one that I added on. I took this from $81,000. We waited for this key level forever in the premium. We took that short, dropped it to $60K, took a bunch of profit, and then again, on that retracement to $67,000, the key level we talked about on that market update, I added. That was the plan. I stuck to the plan, and now up another $7,000 here, additional to the profits that I already took. On top of that, I'm also holding my big swing shorts that I've shown a million times here, just waiting for the waiting for like another big level to get hit. I probably will start to close these in full. These already have massive profits locked in. These were originally opened in the $98,000 zone. So yeah, I got this one over on WeX up 14K. And then we also got this one also up 14,500 over on Blowfin. So I got 3 shorts running. I do plan to close a lot of these probably in full if we can make it down to this $58,000 to $54,000 area. So money flow is king, volume profiles is king, and I tried to be a little bit more educational last night talking about the volume profiles, how we trade them, how we pull them, and this is just a beautiful outcome to show, even if you're not going to hold that value area low, when you're floating in the middle of a volume profile like this, guys, it is, in my opinion, just never going to be right? These key levels, I always say this, key levels are much more likely to get tapped. If you're bouncing in the middle of the range like this, you just got that magnet sucking you at least down to the value area low. And then, of course, right, at this point, I probably won't be interested in trying to catch a knife here. Could you catch a knife? Could we front run this level? You catch a knife and get a massive long? Maybe. That's just not what I'm going to be doing. Same thing here. Could you potentially caught this and got a massive move? Sure, it's statistically lower probability. I'm not interested in it. And more often than not, you will see that play out. So for me personally, I would be looking for at least, right, I would say if you are looking to catch knives down here, not financial advice, I would just be very, very careful as you reapproach the $60,800 zone between $60,800 and about $61,500. This is now going to be a major, major resistance level. I mean, again, we don't have any major confirmations down here just yet. So just be careful. If we come up here, I will be very wary of getting rejected from here and then finally coming down to that $58,000 zone if we don't come down there right now. I'd prefer to just rip the Band-Aid off, nuke it down there, and then we can reassess the situation. But let me come on into the chat. What are we thinking, guys? Are we going to zero? What the heck is going on? Yo, Golden! Shout out to Golden, baby, starting off the stream. He gifted 100 memberships yesterday, guys, and there's another 50 for the Mafia. Let's go. Shout out to Golden, baby. Is he on a jet? Golden, are you on the jet again? Is that a thing? Every time you're on the private jet, you get 50 Frankie Candles memberships. If your name just turned green, guys, start spamming that golden emoji. Go to your emoji section. You will have access to custom Frankie Candles emojis. Go ahead and drop some golden emojis for our boy. Thank you so much, Golden. We appreciate you so much. I do. I know the Mafia does as well. Shout out to Chris. He's dropping the out-of-pocket chats as usual. Welcome in, brother. Always happy to have you in here. This move happened when I was sleeping. It kills me. Golden said, my pleasure, bro. Thank you so much, man. Nope, not on the jet. I guess he's at his destination, which he said was the moon. I guess on Bitcoin dumps, he just flies to the moon himself to protect himself from the dumps. Let's see. Dang, Indian Martini, still no green name. Dang, bro, you've been trying for a while. If your settings are on, bro, you are due. You are due. You're due for a payout, bro. Let's see. Ready to buy 10 ETH spot. We will take a look at some of the. We'll take a look at ETH, Solana. We'll take a look at some of the big boys. We'll take a look at everybody's favorite XRP. Yeah. Oh, shout out to Wilson. I front ran you on that, bro. Yes, we will check the major alts. Another thing, guys, just from an educational standpoint here, something else that we looked at yesterday was the SPY. Right, talking about how the very, very likely case here with our 4-hour money flow coming into the red. Now, of course, we haven't come down here and gotten a retracement yet, but I'm just going to hide this. I'm going to keep this line on the chart. We'll see how it plays out. I don't expect price to, always follow the magic line. A lot of times it absolutely does. But I never look at this as like, I'm going to trade just looking at this line. Obviously, that would be a ridiculous idea, but we'll see. Maybe it hits. But our next big key level of support here on the SPY sits right here between about 724 and 714. On top of that, we had money flow coming out. So at this point, any bounces to the upside, I could just bring up that line again, any bounces to the upside are going to have to be treated as lackluster retracements for continuations down. And I would have to assume this is going to leak into crypto. Of course, not doing too hot over here. Obviously could be adding to why Bitcoin is dumping. But we've been looking for this move down on Bitcoin way before we even looked at this SPY chart. So yeah, obviously stock's not doing great. Bitcoin's very likely to follow. Just another thing that we looked at. We have many areas of confluence or levels of confluence on top of just looking at the chart here. You don't even need to look at the SPY. Bitcoin was screaming lower highs, lower lows. Shout out to Golden. Thank you for the super chat, bro. I appreciate you, man. He says heat map, please. Yes, guys. Let's take a look at the liquidation heat map real quick. Where are we at? Let me just pull this up real quick. So on the liquidation heat map, guys, we actually looked at this in the premium. Bitcoin was dumping. We were sitting right about here. I don't know why my crosshairs aren't popping up. But we were sitting right about here, talking to the Mafia. Actually, I can show this, right? We're not just blowing smoke. Where is it at, right? We pull up that heat map. Hey, guys, liquidity sitting below. I'm going to kind of chill out here. I think this is a good bit of liquidity down below. May actually get my wish of the daily bull div into the monthly MPOC at 58K. But you can see, right, we float above that liquidity. The closer you get to that liquidity, guys, the harder the stronger the magnet becomes, right? Price gets close. This is the liquidity. This is the price. Closer you get, boom, smack into that liquidity. And then just a few minutes later, sweep right through that liquidity. So when we look at the liquidity heat map live here, You can see we do still have a little bit of liquidity. I would say this was very hot. This was very hot. This is slightly less intense, but it is sitting here. This is, I guess, the bottom. Obviously, the hot spots are really what you're going to be looking at. This starts at about 58.9 all the way down to about 58.3. So we do still have, let me just see where this starts, right? Yeah, I mean, this liquidity is really just sitting below the lows. So obviously, there is liquidity sitting down here. Are we going to come down, sweep that? And, the liquidity is very nice, right? Because if we know that there is liquidity sitting all down here, we're kind of sweeping it already. I believe it's actually below this wick. But all this liquidity can very easily give us a fast drop to the downside, and I would love for that liquidity to sweep us right into that support. Very similar to what we looked at yesterday. If you tuned into yesterday's live stream, you will know. We literally cover this every single day. When we look at this, even on a lower time frame, I think we were looking at the 2-week. Liquidity heat maps are an extremely, extremely helpful tool to kind of find those magnets, right? And again, it's not that if the magnet's $15,000 away, it's going to be strong. But the closer you get, the more likely it is to get swept. But we looked at this yesterday, right? Right below the lows here, we did have the liquidity sitting below, right? So it's like you're bouncing here, but not only are you inside the volume profile, right? This is right below these lows. So I'll pull this up on the chart, right? Not only are you inside the profile looking to at least get gravitated to the value area low, but you also have all this liquidity being left down below, right? So, of course, you can get the lackluster retracement, but that liquidity acts as a magnet on top of that value area low, on top of the money flow coming out. Many reasons to look for this, right? So, yeah, I would say right now the next real area of liquidity is actually below the wick that we just swept, right? So, obviously, these are kind of the only last significant lows that we have. You could zoom in here a little bit. There we go. Maybe we're going to go sweep this right now. But yeah, I would say we just do have a little bit of liquidity down here. Of course, could get an SFP of the low. Is it impossible to front run these levels? No. Just like up here, is it impossible to front run these levels and go? No. But it's always statistically higher probability to come down and tap those levels, especially when they're MPOCs. So again, if we get an SFP here, let's say we sweep this on the higher time frames, we come back up, we close maybe the daily candle up here. Just be very careful about these long positions back to the upside, right? Could just be a lower high and a lower low based on your money flow, right? To eventually come down to the key levels. Be careful with the longs in case you get the lower high for the lower low to come into your bigger zone, right? Same exact thing, just repeated time and time again. So yeah, I would say, a little bit of liquidity down below. Where is this? $59,000 is that wick. Pull back up the monthly. I'll even take a look at the 3-month as well. Come on. Now, of course, these heat maps are not going to be 100% accurate, right? These are estimations of where the liquidity is going to be sitting. Come on. We do have some super chats. Shout out to Jesse. Welcome in, brother. Said, quick reminder, don't super chat your altcoins. It won't guarantee he'll look at them. Thank you for that, Jesse. I always try. But yeah, don't super chat your altcoins, guys. You could just put them in the chat. We'll run through a bunch of them. It's just impossible to keep up with all of them. We'd be sitting here for 14 hours, which I wouldn't necessarily be against. But shout out to Golden. Said, thank you for the super chat, bro. He says, now the real question is, does that liquidity on the heat map line up with your volume profiles? Yeah, so we'll cover that. But when we look at this on the 1 month, down to about 58.3, right into that daily monthly MPOC zone. So yeah, I would say if I were to draw out that liquidity, right, it kind of just lives right into right here. Now, does this line up with my volume profile levels? I'm actually really happy you asked that, Golden, because, of course, we got nothing to look to the left here, close. But when we zoom out, of course, guys, this big level, let me just hide everything up here so it's not super confusing. Just want to freak everybody out with all these levels, right? Of course, our major macro zone of support, we have from $58,000, $58,300 almost, down to about $54,000. So what I will say is if we went for a huge liquidation there, it could run us into the 2021 macro value area high, which, of course, would be confluent with all these horizontal levels of support, right? So this is still a very, very important level to be watching. Is it guaranteed to hold up? Not necessarily. But if we're going to get a bounce, right, I would not be looking in the middle of nowhere, right? I would much prefer to tap into those key levels of support. Ooh, she's getting close. Ooh, she's getting close. Oh, God, she's getting close. Let's go ahead and set an alert here. Let me take it off log real quick. Good Lord. The nuke is happening here, guys. But of course, I will be looking at this separated, right? I'm not going to look for an entry here and then have my stop loss all the way below 54K. That'd be a gigantic stop loss. I'm not interested in that. I'm going to there it is. All right, is she going to go for the liquidity live? Come on, baby. Come on. Give us some action. So yeah, I'm obviously going to separate these into separate levels. Just play it just zone by zone. First level, $58,000. Second level is really sitting at about 56,450. And then the last level is the weekly and the value area high at $54,000. I mean, this is, and this is obviously pretty far away, right? It was like this would be a huge drop. If we see this on the live stream, oh my God, live at just 7% move. I guess it's not really that far. But massive, massive zone of support. And, you know, would I expect this to just go like boop, boop, or boop, boop? Probably not, right? We could very easily see a lot of chop go on here, right? And then eventually come down and play with those levels. It's impossible for me to call the exact price action, you know, to a T. I know we do it sometimes, guys. It's never my intention, right? It would be wishful thinking to think that I could just draw a magic line on the chart and just guarantee that it's going to play out. But general idea here is that on a higher time frame, which I guess we can kind of just jump into because we're just watching what we were looking for yesterday start to play out, right? There's not really a huge update. If you just tuned in, scroll back to the beginning of the stream. I did go over it. But at the end of the day here, guys, higher time frames, kind of looking at more of like a cycle view. The next macro important level of support, $58,000 to $54,000. And then, of course, I really hate to bring this up. I know everybody, actually, I'll be honest. I feel like most people want me to call for much lower prices for some strange reason. So I guess I don't really mind talking about this. But, you know, if this level, depending on the reaction we have here, I'll obviously walk you guys through all this price action. The reason I'm interested in this level is not only is it a massive area of interest, regardless of where we are in the cycle, just from a chart perspective, guys, this is the next major confluent high time frame level of support. We have the 300-week moving average sitting down there as well. Just pull that up. Right, 300-week moving average also coming in beautiful confluence with this. This is typically a major level where we start to form bottoms, right? It's an indication that we are very close to the bottom and we are very likely in an accumulation phase. Now, could that fail? We drop down to 30K, of course. I'll cover those scenarios as they become more likely. But again, you have the daily, the monthly MPOC, the weekly MPOC, a weekly horizontal, the macro bull market value area high from the previous cycle. 300-week moving average, and if you just need a quick reminder here, guys, when you take a look at these high time frame moving averages, you know, just looking at the 300-week, we didn't hit it in 2018 at the bottom. We did hit it, but this was a higher low. At that point, the bottom was already in. In 2022, we just barely front ran it, went back down for one more flush below it, but essentially that was just the bottom after starting a major accumulation, right? There is a possibility that we are in a similar situation. We front run it, we go down, right? And this is just major accumulation. This would be the more bullish scenario. And it's not just the key levels, right? I think a lot of people need to look at this context. You know, we've never lost the 300-week moving average and gotten a massive drop down like that, right? This has always indicated you're better off looking for bottoms, right? Doesn't mean the bottom's in necessarily, right? Oh my God, 300-week moving average, the bottom's in. Not necessarily, right? If you're looking at the 5-minute chart. But at the end of the day, over time, it does tend to be around where we see those bottoms, give or take a little bit, right? On top of that, you have a ton of confluence with your horizontal levels, and we have potential very high time frame bullish confirmations. Let me I'll just leave it. We do have potential very high time frame bullish confirmations, a potential weekly bull div, right? And it's not just the bull div, it's the fact that we're pushing into support. What do I like to see? Price approaching key levels. Then when we hit the key levels, I look for confirmations, right? Potentially a bull div, right? When we're looking at a weekly time frame, a weekly bull div is a very strong high time frame confirmation. It would give us the beautiful lower lows on price, beautiful higher lows on our momentum waves, very similar to what we saw in 2022. Does that guaranteed have to be the bottom? Not necessarily, but it is something I am absolutely 100% not going to ignore. It will not be until, get rid of these lines real quick. bada boom. I don't know where those were in the object tree, but they weren't showing. But if we get down there, right, who knows? Maybe this is another lower high. Once we get accepted below $54,000, we'll be getting accepted back into our macro value area, which would very likely call for a move down to the POC, right? Just like on the 5-minute, 15-minute, 4-hour, 1-hour charts that we look at on those volume profiles. Once we start losing that, right, this doesn't mean that we can't wick down below it, hang out down there a little bit, and then get a reclaim, right? That would be very nice, weekly bullish divergences. But if we really can't get out of there and the charts look like trash, right, well, the next very likely case is going to be a move down towards the $47,000 POC. This is a major, major point of control. This does act as a magnet, and in my opinion, this is the line in the sand, right? Could you get a bounce here, eventually work your way up, right? And then maybe we work off into the next cycle, potentially. Once we lose that POC, guys, I am going to have to start calling for much lower prices, right? So prepare for that. I hope that guy does not have to come up on the live stream and say, guys, it's going to dump. But in my opinion, right, there is really no reason to say, oh, my God, we're going down to the value area low when we're coming down to retest major confluence, major value area high as support, right? Because there is a possibility you can get the bounce there, especially with the high time frame confirmations, right? It's not just support. You have the confirmations looking to print. But at the end of the day, it's binary, right? We break down below, we lose the PLC. Next likely place for price to go is going to be 37 and potentially 30K. We also have one more level sitting here in about 41,000. But we'll cover those major targets at a later date, right? Until we break in there, we don't have to worry about those lower targets. The two major scenarios I always talk about on every single live stream is the more bullish case, something like this. We've had this drawn on the chart forever, hoping that we would see a weekly bull div, and it is actually starting to look like we might. And then that would be kind of looking for the bottom down there, right? And then, of course, if we get accepted in and we get the more bearish case to play out, that would look a lot more something like this, right? Where we get stuck in, can't get back to the POC, get stuck in the profile, and then see a potential full rotation, right? But, you know, too soon to be looking at this, in my opinion. Just to give you guys kind of an overall thought process, we've been talking about this level forever. We are finally approaching it, and we have the bullish confirmations. So we'll see. Tomorrow, if we wind up, or maybe later today, we wind up printing the, well, we're not going to print the weekly bull div today, but if we wind up printing those divs, I'll keep you guys updated here on the live streams, the market updates, and walk you through it step by step. Let's see. Shout out to Golden. Thank you for the super chat again, bro. Unbelievable. I said I had to sell a fat bag to pay for the fuel to get to the moon yesterday. Sorry, my bad. It nuked down harder than I thought. Shout out to Golden. Guys, there's not a lot of people, right? Like, I hold a decent amount of Bitcoin, but if I sold my Bitcoin, it's not going to move the chart. I have a feeling that if Golden sold a lot of his Bitcoin, it would very likely be visible on the chart. Shout out to Golden. But let's see. Let's check it on chat here real quick. Liquidation heat map shows not much left down below. I would agree with that, right? When we were looking at it before, you know, very hot spot, very hot spot. It is starting to fade out a little bit, right? Shout out to Kodak, said, yes, it's too early for those reversal signals. Just wait, and we will announce it. Shout out to Kodak. Shout out to Perry. Thank you for the super chat, bro. Said, I never did a super chat. I'm back from vacation. Shout out to Perry, bro. Give a round of applause for Perry for his first super chat. Welcome back from vacay, bro. Sorry you had to come back on a note like this with Bitcoin absolutely free-falling. But welcome back, bro. We're happy to see you in here. We got Crimson in the chat. Welcome in, brother. Welcome in. Shout out to M-Dog, said, so will you just be live for the next 4 to 6 hours? Shout out to M-Dog. I don't know. We'll see. Maybe not 6 hours. Let's see. Shout out to Chris, said Frankie barks at me while calling me Lucy. Lucy is in the studio here, guys. She's actually sleeping. Surprised she's not barking. Lucy, Bitcoin's dumping. How do you feel about that? And she's back asleep. We'll show her at the end of the stream. Trying to get her to hang out in here with me. I feel bad leaving her in the other room. Do I think it's a good idea to buy a spot bag down here? This is not financial advice. You know what I will tell you is what I've done and what has worked for me in the past and what has historically worked for Bitcoin, right? I think the simplest way to look at this is to take all the complications off the chart, right? Except for maybe a couple of things, right? I'll actually pull this up on the Bitstamp chart so we can get a little more history, right? We'll just go from these cycles. previous all-time high retest, slip below it, but for the sake of just, being realistic here, right? We didn't lose the all-time high and nuke. Pretty much retest the all-time high. We are currently in a very similar situation, retesting the all-time high, 300-week moving average, 300-week moving average. And there's other confluences as well, but I'll just leave that to be nice and simple, right? Bitcoin is currently down 53%. You are not buying the top, right? And it's all about kind of your risk tolerance, right? And your, as I've said, after this first big capitulation, what has worked in the past? Previous all-time high retest, weekly bullish divergences into the major moving averages, and the biggest thing that I always talk about are those weekly money flow crossovers. I'll turn this red. I always say red, but it's really purple. Weekly money flow crossover, big capitulation. This is where I started dollar cost averaging into the market, partially exposing myself, buying, right? Buying on the dips, weighted dollar cost averaging on the way down. I don't care if I have my hold spot bag in here and then it goes down more. I just see that as an opportunity, and that is signaled by the weekly money flow crossover and a big capitulation, right? Crosses over, and like even you look here, right? Money flow crosses over on the weekly, big capitulation, not a bad time to buy. Money flow crossover into the red, big capitulation, not a bad time to start buying in. Current price action, weekly money flow crossover, big capitulation, usually not a bad time to buy. I am not telling you to buy Bitcoin. I am already partially exposed to the market and continuing to buy on the way down. I use a weighted dollar cost average strategy where I buy heavier and heavier bags on the bigger dumps. So again, not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not telling you to buy Bitcoin. I'm just sharing with you what I do, what has worked for me in the past. And to me, we are seeing a lot of similar things. If we wind up getting underneath here and we see a massive drop down to 30K, I am not going to cry about it. What I prefer, if we can get the bounce from here, absolutely. I'm not going to cry about it. I will see a 30K Bitcoin as a major, major, major buying opportunity. But you have to ask yourself the question, are you willing, right? When I buy in here, I say, if I buy here, I am expecting that the bottom is not directly in. If I catch the bottom, great. I won't have my full bags packed, but hey, I bought the bottom. But I am buying here with full anticipation that we are very likely going to go lower. It's the same thing here, right? I buy a little bit, full anticipation that we can very likely go lower. But I just see that as the lower we go, the heavier the bags I buy, and I continue to dollar cost average in. So take that for what it's worth. That's what's worked for me in the past. I'm not telling you to do that, but just looking at the charts, I just, I show my work, right? Like, this is why I do what I do. So hopefully that helps you out. But no one can tell you where to buy. No one's going to be able to, not even me, right? I can't come up here and say, the bottom's in guaranteed. Put your whole bag in, right? Could I be right? Sure. But it's very risky. It's because, again, when I was buying in here, maybe someone watched a live stream, they heard that I bought Bitcoin, and they're thinking, oh, my God, the bottom's in. He bought, right? And then it went lower. And then they bought in at the same time. They sold. They're like, oh, my God, we're going down. I sold. Meanwhile, I'm continuing to buy on the way in. You have to have your own plan. I have a long-term strategy for my Bitcoin. There's a portion of my Bitcoin that I still hold to this day. I sold most of my Bitcoin on this retracement into 115K. But there is still, I have some of my Bitcoin that I'm just going to hold for 10, 15 years. So you have to have your own strategies. And then I separate my trading portfolio. My leverage trades are a totally different part of my capital. That's my earned active income, right? I have to work for that. I have to watch the charts. It's risky. I lose money sometimes. But I use that to build up my capital, and then usually I will take that, any profits that I make, not always, it's not all going from trading into Bitcoin. Obviously, I use it for other stuff as well. But some of that profit you can use to reinvest into your spot bags and hold long term, right? I have 3 major things: my leverage trading active portfolio, right? Capital, I should say. Then I have my kind of cycle capital where I'm trying to buy the bottom of the bear market, sell the top of the bull market, my swing trading portfolio. And then I have my long-term investments, which, I'm holding Bitcoin for 10 years. Hopefully that helps you out. So yeah, is it a good time to buy Bitcoin? I mean, you're not buying the top. I can say that, right? I can't tell you you're buying the exact bottom, but again, right, I'm not always concerned about that. I think I'm going to start buying a little bit back at 47.7K, but I am heavy buying back at 42 to 39, not financial advice. Shout out to Golden. If we get down there, I will be doing something very similar. Shout out to Rag Capital. Said, Frank, you just said max your CC to buy BTC? I don't know what Shout out to Red Capital. I'm not 100% sure what that means. Independent Crypto says 10 years or 1 BTC equals 1 million, whichever comes first. Shout out to Crypto Independent. Jose said there was a post explaining that trying to catch the bottom is dumb because barely makes any difference in the long term. Just get in the neighborhood. Yeah, that's kind of what I preach, right? Like, again, I started buying here. That was not the bottom. I kept buying on the way down, right? My average, and I even bought, right? Like, so I'm buying here. I'm also buying on the way up, buying on the way down, buying on the way up. I just had auto accumulation bots on, right? So I really just bought within this area, right? So my average entry price was about $20,000 to $21,000. And I always try to say this, right? Do I care, right? And I said this back here, if you guys have been on the channel, if you guys have been watching this channel forever, shout out to the OGs. Back here, during this time, I explain this because people, it's always the same thing. Like, why would you buy here? It's going to go way lower. 8K, 3K CME gap. By the way, buckle up, guys. 3K CME gap incoming. I'm just kidding. But, people are like, oh, you're crazy. It's like, I have a plan, right? If we went to 12K, 14K, I would continue to buy. But, with an average entry price here around 20 to 21K, at this point, I was telling people, right, when we're up at 100, 150, 130, whatever it was, right, when we're all the way up in the next bull market, am I going to look back here and say, man, I really am pissed that I don't have an entry at 15K and my entry's at 21K? No, I'm going to look back in hindsight and say, ooh, I pretty much bought the bottom, right? And that's how I see my long-term portfolio, or my swing trade portfolio, right, my cycle portfolio, I guess you can say it. When it comes to leverage trades and stuff, I'm much more looking at the order flow, trying to catch the bottom of the wick, sniping those entries. But when it comes to the long-term investments, I 100% agree with that. I think you're just very likely to miss the forest for the trees here. Same thing here, right? It's like if I buy in, let's say we go down to 41K, buy. Do I care if my entry's at 41K, if that's where the bottom is, or if it's in at 50K? Not really, because if we're sitting up at, say, 150, 200K. It's the same thing I said here, right? Hopefully it plays out the same. Wound up working really well here. But, let's say we're sitting up here. Am I going to look back and be like, man, I really wish I was in from 40K, not 50K? No. I actually don't think the risk is worth it to try to snipe the bottom, because what happens if you try to wait for your magic level, right? Oh, my God, we have to hit this level. Whatever it is, 30K. We'll just use that because that's a really popular target, right? We have to hit 30K. Well, what happens if the market does not hit 30K, right? You're just going to be thinking lower high, lower low. We'll hit 30K. This is the lower high. Oh, no, this is going to be a macro lower high, 30K incoming. Okay, well, actually, we're back above 100K. Maybe I'll just start buying in. Would I be mad if my entry price, if I'm dollar cost averaging on the way up, right, after 100K, right? My average entry price is maybe 130, and then we go to 160, 170. Am I going to be mad that my entry is here and not down here? Yes. Does that make sense? Right? If I waited thinking that 14K, 12K, 8K was going to come here, I'd think lower high, lower low. Oh, wait. No, lower high. Yeah, lower high, lower high, lower low. All right, never mind. I'll start buying in, right? And then you're essentially buying in close to the top, right? In that case, up here, I'd be mad that my average entry is in here and not down here, right? So I just think the risk to reward is just not there for me. I said the same thing at the top, right? Because the charts are all the same. Up, down, it's all the same stuff, right? It made no sense for me to not take profit on the way up. I took some partial TPs here, took some partial TPs here, and then once we saw that flip of resistance and the money flow coming out here, I sold the rest of my Bitcoin. But even these take profits, right? People will be like, but what if we go to 130? What if we, I am sacrificing, right? I am risking my entry price here from 20 to 21K, right? Why would I not take profit here, right? I'm up 438%, right? Or why would I not take profit here? I'm up 500%, right? Why would I not take profit here for a potential extra 20%, right? It makes no sense, right? You have to pay yourself. Otherwise, you're never going to make money. You're going to wind up round tripping your bags. You're going to have everyone and their grandma screaming the same thing as what I just explained on the way up, right? Or, yeah, on the way up, right? Oh, my God. Oh, it's going to be a lower high and a lower low, lower high, lower low. It's the same thing on the way down. Everyone's going to be screaming higher low, higher high. Don't sell your bags, right? But you're going to be happy that you were taking profit on the way up. Hopefully that makes sense. And this is just what's worked for me in the past. Spot, DCAing and spot. I don't hold long-term leverage bags. The only time I hold, I am holding, for example, like these shorts that I'm holding. These are being held for, these have been held for a very long time, right? These are being held from $98,000. But I did not take this and say I'm holding this as a swing trade, right? I just decided to take some profits and then continue to hold. One of them is being held from here and one from here, right? So I've been holding these for a long time, but I did not take those as I'm shorting this and I'm going to ride it through the rest of the bear market, right? I took massive profits already on that position. And then there's no reason to close it, right? Bearish market structure, lower high. I took a fresh short up here for the lower low to come in and looking pretty good, right? Paying out pretty nicely, but I already have profits locked in on both those trades. I didn't take them as like I'm shorting the bear market, I'm going to hold it long term. I don't look at the longs that way either. If I take a long, let's say I take a long down here, for example, I'm not saying this is going to happen. Let's just say the bottom comes in here and I'm going to leverage long. I'm not going to hold that saying, oh, I'm holding this to 150K. I don't trade like that for my leverage. Even on low leverage, guys, I've been liquidated on 3x leverage positions before. A lot of people think if they use 3x leverage, they're definitely not going to get liquidated, although it's a lot harder to get liquidated than if you're using 80x leverage. It can happen. It's happened to me. Shout out to Hostel says, looks like bottom forming could be the typical summer bounce from here until October final dump. Potentially. Waiting to get paid to DCA more because I don't have dry powder. Shout out to Lindo. Everyone is selling so they can afford GTA 6 pre-orders. Bottom will be when the game is actually released during November. Shout out to Mr. Terrell. Maybe. I'm actually excited for GTA 6. I might start a second channel and do some late-night GTX streams. That'd be fire. Just get the Mafia in there. Do some GTA 6 live streams. That'd be super fun. Definitely want to do it on this channel. I'll keep this straight for crypto. Bounce from here a little. Let's go back down to the lower time frames. Pull up the Bitstamp chart. Bybit chart, rather. Just pull that wick one more time. Oh, did we crack this? Yes, we did. So you did get a little SFP here, guys. You did get a little SFP. Very much a knife catch situation. So obviously a risky trade to take there. There's no real... if we were to have, technically, do you have a lower low? Is this a high? Yeah, it's not even, I guess. I'd have to zoom in a bit. Yeah, do you technically have bullish divergences here? I guess. But again, this is not typically what I like to see for bullish divergences. You do have that nice little SFP. So yeah, you could definitely get a bounce from here. But again, I would be careful, right? You're now below your major resistance. So I would just be careful. Obviously, price moves in waves. It was the same thing that we looked at on the 4-hour yesterday, right? Do you have lower lows on your price, higher lows on your momentum waves? Yes. Is that a bullish divergence? Yes. Can that give you a bounce? Yes. Did it give you a bounce? Yes. But what did we explain word for word? These are not divergences that I prefer to see big bounces from. Number one, it's very long, right? Like I just don't like when you have these big spread out lows. I like to see this more locally into the level. If we had a low here, a low there, and a low and higher low and a bull div like that, I would like that a lot more. But explaining yesterday, number one, I didn't like that bullish divergence. And number two, even if it was a nice bullish divergence, you have your money flow coming out. That's why we look for the lower high and the lower low. Very similar here on the low time frames. Price actions fractal. You have the SFP, could get a bounce. That's a confirmation in and of itself. But it's not like you have these beautiful bullish divergences, right? Like this is not what I like to see for bullish divergences. But SFP, I would say, honestly, the biggest level, if we get a nice big bounce from here, this is your biggest level of resistance, sitting between 60,800 and 61.5. So don't forget, you still have your daily money flow cranking into the red. But again, we don't have it. Our next support level is sitting at $58,000, right? But SFP, sweep out the low, could get a little bounce. I would say that's not a 30-minute SFP confirmed. So we'll see. I'll even pull up some local levels here as well. So I would say a nice little local bounce into that golden pocket 786. I would say definitely a risky knife catch situation, guys. Yeah, it's almost like looking at. Let's see if I can. Yeah, would really, really like. I mean, if you confirm this daily candle above that low, you would technically have a potential daily bullish divergence. But again, I just wouldn't like that as much as if we were to put it in to a key level of support. Right? It doesn't mean it can't play out. That was another thing on that local bull div here, right? It's like not into a key level of support. It's not into the value area low. It's right above. You have all those magnetic levels potentially sucking you down. No levels, no trade. Shout out to Gen Z. Yes, it is okay, right? You can't cry about a missed trade. There's always going to be another opportunity, right? A lot of people are like, oh my God, I was looking for lower. I missed the long. Doesn't matter, right? There's going to be another short opportunity. There's going to be another long opportunity. The more you try to catch every single trade, imagine you're trying to catch every single long. Oh my God, key level. I don't see confirmation. I'm just going to take the trade. Wrecked. Oh my God, we're getting a little bit of a bounce on a low time frame. Oh my God, wrecked, right? Oh my God. The more you try to just catch every single move, the more you're going to either wreck your account or like even if you're short, right? Oftentimes I'll be short from higher and I will take a couple shots at some long positions knowing that if I get stopped out of those longs, it's not going to eat into my short profit, right? I'm still going to remain profitable because my short's going to continue to pay me out as price goes down. They're kind of like free trades. But another thing you can end up doing if you're not using good risk management is even if you're in a short paying you out, you could fire on a long, fire on a long, fire on a long, right? Stopped out, stopped out, stopped out. Or if you're not managing the risk correctly, you could eat a lot of your profits from the short up by losing on those long positions. So I just prefer to wait for those more sound A-plus setups, right? Where I would see, if we had a low, a lower low, right, more locally into the level with an SFP, that would just be a higher probability confirmation. Again, not that you can't bounce from here. I wouldn't be surprised if the SFP gives you a little bounce. But, you have to put some kind of level of conviction on how strong that's going to be. And I would be very wary here because you have much of your money flow coming into the red. You basically would be treating that, and again, we took scalp longs here in the premium, but we viewed it as scalp longs. Right? I could actually pull it up here. Where is it? They're even labeled on the chart as scalp longs, right? Because we're not expecting much out of them. Number one, sitting right here, right? Not looking. The final take profit there was, again, the key level we looked at yesterday, which was the local golden pocket. We wound up barely front-running that level. But you can get a nice little scalp long there. But that is the plan for the trade, right? The plan is not to take this long all the way up to new highs, right? It is looked at as a scalp. Maybe you can get your final TP in here, take profit along the way, maybe take a second take profit at the golden pocket, and then you're eventually expecting a rollover to the bigger levels. So you can take scalps, but I would definitely view them as scalps for potential lower highs, lower lows, lower highs, lower lows. And if it winds up playing out, you take partial TPs, you flip the value area low, it turns into a big move, great. At least you locked in some profit and protected yourself, keeping you profitable long term, right? I just definitely want to be, I personally would never just gamble on a mat, this being the low and huge move up. Shout out to Pennywise, said, quit spying on my trading habits. You got a camera on me? Shout out to Pennywise. I say this all the time. That's a very common comment that we get here, guys, and it's because I've been in the exact same situation as a lot of you guys in this chat, right? I was in the Mafia shoes for a very long time. The reason I know what I know now is because I learned through making all the bad mistakes, which I pray that if you can learn from my mistakes and it helps you make the mistake a few less times than I did, right? Or maybe help you avoid the mistake in full, I have done my job, right? Then my losses that I've made in the beginning of my journey were all worth it, right? Because I was able to help you guys out. Let's see. BTC is on sale if you haven't noticed. Shout out to MacD. Let's go, baby. Let's go. Can you give a shout out to Kevin? Said, can you give a quick recap of the trend on price? Yeah, super quick recap. The trend is down. why is the narrative saying BTC will hit 45K in October? I think that just comes from the traditional 4-year cycle. Typically, the bottoms come in. If you do the math, you would expect the bottom to come in around October. I think that's just where it comes from. It comes from the timing of the cycles. I could try to pull up my cycle chart here real quick and show you. I have all the measurements. Cycle chart. Bueller. There it is. You just take the measurements here. From the top to the bottom, 364 days, 378 days, right? If you do that kind of same calculation, a similar calculation, it brings you into about October. So I think a lot of people are expecting that. I don't think you're crazy if you're expecting that, right? It's happened every other time. The only difference is, again, we have conflicting stuff happening here, right? Every other time, like in 2022, for example, as we were hitting that timing, we were getting all of the beautiful indications that the bottom could be coming in. You had the weekly bull divs. You were tapping into the 300-week moving average. Everything was lining up, right? Weekly bullish divergences forming. Here, it's just a little bit off, right? Because, of course, I guess depending on when you print that weekly bull div, this would have to extend. Yeah, maybe it's like more something like this, and then you wind up printing the bull div like that. It's just the indicators and the technical confirmations are slightly front-running the timing, where back here it was like perfect. So, but yeah, that is, I think, where that comes in at. And then even the percentage drawdown thing a lot of people talk about, it was, what is this? Can't see it. 86% this cycle. Next cycle was like, I think, 85%, 83%, I think, if you technically pull it wick to wick. Then we had 76%, right? So the bear markets and the bull markets get less explosive and less aggressive to the downside as the asset matures. You kind of get that like coiling nature, right? Like massive percentage move, slightly less massive percentage move, slightly less massive. So if you do the math here, I believe the math works out to, like, if you take the average, you would be looking for like a 73% correction, and I think that's where that 30K number comes in, which is, I think, a valid thought, right? I don't think that's crazy. I think that totally makes sense with the cycles. But again, you can't, you can look at that, but you also have to understand what's happening on the charts. Two things can be true at the same time. So yeah, I would say this bear market's very difficult, right? Because everything is, if we get that massive drop down to here, right, 73% correction, percentages check off. If it happens in October, the timing will check off. The problem I see here is I just, maybe you don't get any kind of big weekly bullish divergences. There's a lot of things that don't line up. So it's just very difficult, unfortunately. There's no magic pill that's going to say the cycle's going to play out or the chart's going to play out. I always go based off the chart because the chart tells me what the market is actually doing, regardless of some random timing, although it has been accurate in the past. Unfortunately, it just creates a very difficult situation. But for me, right, like, I'm never going to be mad. Like, if Bitcoin goes down to 30K, right, like, if I'm out of dry powder at that point and I'm just sitting in drawdown, I fully anticipate Bitcoin to be above those prices in the next 5 to 10 years. I'm happy just holding through that. And if I have to, it is what it is, right? I don't win. I don't get perfect entries every trade. Last cycle was absolutely beautiful for me, but I've messed up cycles too. I think this cycle went a lot better than the past cycle because I learned a lot, right? I had a lot more experience here. So, I'm just going based off what has worked and what hasn't worked. And what hasn't worked for me is trying to buy on the way up. I'm much more safe and comfortable buying on the way down. If, let's say, I run out of dry powder and we get another big dump, I will sell stuff if I have to. I probably won't have to. But if I had to, I'd be selling my kidneys to buy Bitcoin at 30K, right? Unless Satoshi moved his Bitcoin, right? That's the only way I'd be like, oh, my God, I might lose all my money. So, it's kind of, see it as a much less risky situation. Just buy, like, I've been in more situations where I've wish I bought more when it was going down than I have where if I buy in and I go into extra drawdown. I don't really care about that as much as having to buy when I've had to buy higher and looked back and been like, man, I wish I bought lower. Hopefully that makes sense, right? And I think the only thing that can teach you that is experience, right? I had to go through those trials and tribulations to actually change my behavior, right? Because I think it's much more comfortable emotionally for a lot of people to just be like, it's going down, I'm going to wait to buy, it's going lower, right? Well, that seems like a good idea, and I'd say this from experience. It seems like a good idea until price doesn't go to where you want it to go, lower, And you're like, oh my God, now I have to buy higher. Oh my God, why I should next time Bitcoin dumps. Like I hear it all the time too, right? Every time we're in the bull market, people are like, oh my God, I can't believe I didn't buy the bottom of the bear market. I swear, the next time Bitcoin's below 100K, I'm gonna buy. And then like a lot of those same people, right, are gonna be down here at $50,000, thinking, oh, it's gonna go lower, it's dumping, I'm not gonna buy, right? It's a very hard psychological game, right? Nowadays, right, anyone can invest in crypto, anyone can invest in the stock market, and I think it's really dangerous, honestly, like for people to handle their own capital with absolutely zero experience. It's why most of the market loses money. A lot of people have no idea what they're looking at, and the only thing they trade off of is emotion. I deal with this with personal people in my life. All the people in my personal life, I sent out a massive group text message, and I said, I am not telling you what to do, but I am telling you guys I am actively dollar cost averaging into Bitcoin here. I feel a responsibility to tell you guys this because in the 2021 bull run, you guys were like, oh my God, why didn't you tell us about this, right? And all those people were like, yikes, bro. I mean, it's going to get regulated. That exchange just went down. No way, bro. Like, good luck, man. I really hope you're not messing your life up. And then all those people come in right here. Oh my God, what should I buy? And I'm like, oh my God, man, where were you down here? So it's a very hard psychological game because a lot of those people, it's not anything wrong on them, right? It's like, what do you expect them to do? It's natural human emotion, right? They get excited, but unfortunately, it doesn't make you money. Let's see. Shout out to Izzy. Said great stuff as always. Appreciate you for being here. It's funny, yeah. Spammers are out here today. Shout out to Captain Kirk. Welcome in. Thank you for being here. Good to see you. Cap's been stopping by a lot lately. But yeah, yeah, it's like little movement, little attention to crypto, and then here comes buy this altcoin, buy this meme coin, which is actually crazy, right? Like I always say, like people who just come in, they're like, buy super squirrel nuts. It's gonna 100x, right? It is actually crazy because I would say about 99 out of 100 of those coins obviously go to zero. I would say 95% of them don't ever do anything. 99 of them are rug pulls, go up and then just instantly rug. But there has been times, guys, where I've seen people shill something in the chat and don't ever just buy something off of what someone says in the chat. Obviously, again, almost all of them are scams. But I would be lying if I said I've never seen one actually do something. But again, they always rug in the end. How about SpaceX? So yeah, I'm gonna take a look at the big altcoins, guys, but I will check in on SpaceX here. Obviously, look at this. IPO, absolute massive dump, taking out the lows here. We'll see what happens. I would believe in SpaceX long-term personally. I've actually, I may start buying this for long-term spot holds. I haven't gone deep into the chart because, again, there's not really much that I can look at. I mean, we have like 8 daily candles. There's no information on this chart for me to look at other than the lower time frames. But when we do look at the lower time frames, you did come out and sweep out the low. What I'm actually going to do is I want to try to go back to previous big company IPOs because I do believe this is not financial advice. I personally think this has a high chance of being one of the biggest companies ever, right? From a price action perspective, obviously be around for a long time. Could be something like a Tesla, a Facebook, any Apple, any big company where it's like, oh my God, how'd you make your bazillions, right? It's like, oh, well, I bought Tesla when it first came out. I think this has a chance of doing that. But I will dig into this. Maybe I'll make a video about just from a technical perspective. But we swept out the lows here. Again, I can't really do much from a money flow perspective on this just because there's no information. But technically, you did sweep out the lows, got a nice little SFP. So we'll see if we can get a little bit of a recovery on that. I will give you some big resistance levels here. Got a nice little golden pocket retracement. Obviously, this would be a pretty decent move, sitting between about 173.50 and 180, almost 181. So if you were to get a big move, right, this would be kind of the first major level that I would be cautious around for a big pullback. Again, it's going to be very hard, right? I'm very attached to money flow, right? I don't have the daily money flow coming up, making me think that this would be a higher low and a higher high. You just kind of have to trade the raw price action, which is totally fine. But I would say this would be a major, major key level of resistance. And I would say your doorway to breaking these lows again would be about $150. Break that 786, I think you come back down and take out these lows. But again, my play here would not to be to day trade this. My play would be like long-term accumulation, right? Again, holding for a very long time. So yeah, the absolute collapse from the IPO, which I don't think was really a shock to anybody. I think a lot of people, honestly, I saw so many people talking about this online, like you're going to get wrecked on the IPO, that I almost thought maybe it wouldn't happen. Right? I was like, man, usually the crowd is wrong, but it is like very common to see something like this happen. All right, let's see. All right, so let's take a look at the altcoins real quick. Take a look at Ethereum. Maybe we'll keep an eye on Bitcoin here. Oh, there we go. Pushing up towards that first, put an alert here on that golden pocket. See if we could push up there. And no bull div. I mean, even this bull div would not be like super nice. But there you go. 15-minute. I think even on like the super low time, 5-minute SFP. There you go. Nice little bounce. SFPs are great confirmations, right? At least for a move up. I wouldn't say like, is SFP, again, wouldn't make me think, oh my God, we're going to the moon. But just from being in on the right side of the trade, if you get that, this is a big, 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 big low. So chance of getting some kind of reaction there. It's really the only quote unquote level that you have before this MPOC at 58K. Other than that, there's really nothing underneath us. The only thing you can look for is the SFP. All right, so let's take a look at Ethereum. So ETH, we actually haven't taken a look at the altcoins in quite some time. Got the rejection here. This is like Bitcoin at the $67,000 zone. There's the previous value area high. Your major level of support, value area high POC. You get a little bit of a bounce from that level. Not only is this your key support, but once you lose this, very likely case that you're going to come back into the range and fill down to the value area low. So you get a little bounce. Right? Just like on Bitcoin, lower highs and lower lows are higher probability with your money flow coming out. Once you lose that, can't get out of that range. Let me actually clean this up. We just hide these levels real quick. Right? Just look at this from a local volume profile perspective. Get those horizontal lines. There's your high. There's your POC. There's your low. Hold on top of the value area high. Once you get accepted in, can't get out, fill the profile into full, right? Let me pull up the bigger levels, though, because that's obviously hyper-local. Yeah, I mean, biggest key level of support is still going to be this macro value area low, right? We barely front-ran this. I guess you can call that a tap. But I would say the biggest level of support right now is this value area low at $1,500. Once you lose that, deviate below the low, your next major key level sits between about $1,333 and $1,252. Until then, I mean, your hope here, right, and this, just to zoom out a little bit to give you the context. Hide the resistances. Get rid of that POC. So this is just the bull market range extended all the way to the right, right? Deviate below the low, get back in, POC, stay inside the range, back to the high. Deviate above the high, correction, back to the high, can't get out, back to fill the range in full, back to fill the range in full, deviate above, can't get out, back to the POC, bounce, back to the value area low. I would say this is a major, major level for Ethereum. Right, so like the biggest, absolute biggest macro levels. Value area low, $1,480, and then underneath you about $1,300, $1,334 to $1,250. That is going to be your big, 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 big levels. Yeah, I mean, if you lose that, next level would be about $1,000, right? Weekly MPOC at about 1,067. But I mean, this is a pretty big zone, right? You got two MPOCs here. One's a weekly. You got another weekly. I mean, this is going to be a big level. And you're already pushing into big support, right? Looking at this from a macro standpoint, Let's pull this real quick. Whoops. Yeah. So when you look at this from just a Fibonacci perspective, from low to high, golden pocket. If the golden pocket doesn't hold, you're going to look to go down to that 786, which sits right around $1,200. All right, so we lose that golden pocket. I mean, this would be huge. You lose this, you're going down below the 2022 bear market lows, which I wouldn't necessarily be very happy about. So, yeah, I mean, like high time frame here, guys. I mean, you are down. Again, you have to think about it. You're down 67%. This would bring you down 74%. If you hit the $1,000 67 weekly MPOC at 78%, I mean, you're not buying the top here. I'm not telling you to buy it, right? But you have to think, right? In the last bull market, would you have been okay? Let's see where this actually pulled up last cycle. Dang, you didn't even come down to the log. Came down to the non-log. Yeah, 786 was really where you bottomed out. So you really wouldn't want to lose that level. I would say this is like the biggest macro support. I mean, as a high time frame view, right? Obviously, I'm not talking about leverage trades here. Now, if you think ETH is one day going to be at $10,000, I mean, this would be definitely discounted. And then also just looking at your volume profile, macro volume profile, this is pulled all the way from 2021. You are very close to being in the cheap. I mean, you're at basically the cheap end of the profile, right? If you bought at the value area low here, sure, you went down below, but at the end of the day, you wound up getting a really, really big payout. And that's assuming you're not dollar cost averaging and just putting your whole bag in. So definitely big area. Not saying it can't go lower. And if it does go lower, they're the exact key levels I would look at. Potential weekly bull div forming into this level as well. So we'll see. If we could print this weekly bull div, be a good indication that you can get a significant bounce. In which case, pull that volume profile back up. There we go. In which case, right, even if you slip the lows there, once you print that weekly bull div, get back inside the range, POC is next. And then depending on what money flow looks like, you flip that POC, maybe we start heading back up through the profile. Just like this. Money flow in the red, deviate below the profile, discounted price, get back in, flip it to support, get back above the POC. At this point, as long as you can stay inside the value area low, doorway to the POC, and the value area rotation is in play. Money flow starts crossing into the green. Make sense? So there you go. I wonder what the super low targets for ETH are right now. People are calling for 30K on Bitcoin. I mean, structurally, ETH is like sitting at the levels, right? This is the macro 2021 value area low, right? Or not even. I mean, I guess we're actually below that because this is extended to current price action. Yeah, I mean, we're basically from a structural perspective at that 2021. ETH is sitting from a volume profile perspective at the exact level where 30K is on Bitcoin. Right? There's your previous value area. It's pretty much the same thing, right? Except ETH didn't get a big breakout, right? ETH got nothing. ETH basically came up to the high, snuck out, and just went back down to the low. Does that make sense? So I would say this is, from a accumulation perspective for me personally, this is a very big area, even if you go lower. Solana's dead to me now. Let's take a quick look at Solana. So let's see. So you got front ran there. Yeah, you hit the log Fibonacci retracement. You can take this off now. Yeah, I mean, your next big level of support on Solana is still the same here, man. 57.60. I mean, came down, got a little sweep of the low here. Not really an SFP, but you faked out the low, got back above. Now you're attempting to break back down. If we take out the low, you got big support monthly MPOC and weekly horizontal at about 57.95. This is very likely going to be the next place where we stick to. And if we did that, you could potentially print a nice daily bullish divergence. So you're approaching very, very key support down here. Barely front ran it there on the first attempt. If you lose $58, unfortunately, guys, the next major key level sits down at 43.33. But we'll see. Let me check that weekly real quick as well. Yeah, I mean, potentially printing weekly bull div here as well. And again, weekly bull divs do not form very often. I mean, I could try to find the last weekly bull div we had here. Obviously, this was a little bit weird because you had the major collapse. Yeah, didn't have the weekly bull div there. Didn't have it here. Yeah, so on Solana, you don't really have any significant weekly bullish divergences. But this is a major, major high time frame signal for at least some kind of a significant bounce, especially if it pushes into that monthly MPOC. So I would say next level to look at down below for Solana, $58, right? $58 to $57. If we could print those bullish divergences, may be able to get a bounce. We'll check in on it if we do come down and tap those levels. I would definitely have that marked off on your chart. And if you want the exact numerical values, you could pause the video and call 58 and 57.60. So there we go. Let's take a quick look at XRP, guys. I know everybody hates XRP. All right, so we haven't looked at this in a while. I don't know when exactly we drew this line, but we can go ahead and hide it. So XRP fighting for its life here, guys. We talked about this when we were checking on an XRP very often before we went into massive, long accumulation or consolidation, rather. Biggest level of support sitting here between the previous value area high and this high volume node, $1.12 to $1.21. This is huge, right? If we can't get back out of here, more specifically, this value area high at $1.20, if we get stuck into this range, unfortunately, the next major area is going to be 81 cents at the previous point of control from back here in 2021. Weird chart, right? Because XRP did not put in a new all-time high. So that would be the lower targets. Right now, it's kind of hard. I mean, you are pushing into support, potential bullish divergences, but, I mean, it looks like we're trying to lose this right now, if I'm being totally honest. But again, from a high time frame perspective, right, it really depends. I'd love to see what these weekly candle closures are going to look like, because if this ends up being a big wick and then you get a big pump and you close that weekly candle up here, right, exaggerating it a little bit, right, that would be a lot better. But to be honest, this looks kind of weak. We'll see what the weekly candle closure looks like. Currently, we are below the massive level of support. We got to reclaim not only $1.12, but more importantly, $1.20. We got to get out of this volume profile. If I hide this high volume node so it's not confusing, hide the box, right? Like, this looks to me like we're getting accepted into this profile. So just snipe this. Yeah. Yeah. I think once you lose about $1, 81 cents could come in pretty quickly. You got a fast move up, guys. Fast moves up oftentimes lead to fast moves down. So we'll see what the weekly candle closure looks like. But as of right now, tried to hold, couldn't get out. At this point, as long as you remain below this value area high, the next main high time frame target is 81 cents. Unfortunately. Yeah, people get really bearish when the market drops. I know. It is true. We get bearish, right? I mean, at least on Bitcoin. We haven't really checked in on the altcoins in a while, but on Bitcoin, unfortunately, it's like it gets hard, guys. It gets really hard because if I want to call the next market movement, right, oftentimes I have to be the guy that's bearish as price is coming up, right? Especially if the chart is saying it's going to go down. So, you know, we are bearish way before price goes down. And then looking at those key levels of support, and oftentimes when we come into those key levels of support, when the charts look good and I have to call for a bounce, everybody is super bearish calling for lower. So it's really difficult. Like at the top, when I'm starting to talk about the top potentially being in, I have to be the guy that everybody hates. And then on the way down, it's like people don't want to hear price is going to bounce. When it looks like the bottom's coming in, just like people hated me here for calling the capitulation down, people are like, no way, higher low, higher high, I hate this guy. Wind up getting the move down. And then down here, I'm like, okay, cool, weekly bullish divergence. Nobody wanted to hear it. Everyone was like, boo, 8K, 8K. It's just like, the masses are never going to want to hear what they need to hear, right? They're going to, at this point, they're thinking, oh, I want to go lower. I sold at a loss. I need to make up that difference and come down to buy much lower to make up for the losses that I took. So it's very difficult. Can XRP possibly go below zero? Does that mean they'll pay you to pick it up? That might be a scheme. There. Let's see. I would love to be able to buy XRP at 42 cents again. That would be nice. Yeah, the other thing is, too, I think it's so funny, man. The markets are so emotionally driven. It's insane. It's like up here, people just I had personal people in my life knocking down my door asking me if they should buy XRP at $3. Now everybody wants it to go to zero. It's so funny, man. It's so funny. It's it's never funny when people lose money, but it's just insane that people are. I guess we're humans, right? We're just naturally emotional beings. But yeah, it's people will say, again, I think the reason XRP gets all the hate is because all the XRP focused influencers have been calling for 10K forever, right? Obviously, we've been getting nowhere near it. But when you look at this, right, looking at from the 2022 lows, 1,100, almost 1,200% from the 2022 lows to the high. I mean, again, from a chart perspective, I'm a chart guy, right? I'm a trader. That's a huge opportunity to make money, right? So I don't really focus on the fugazi. Oh, it has to hit this price, right? So yeah, it's like it's one of the few older altcoins that made a new all-time high, or a new all-time high from the previous cycle. No new all-time high from here, but that doesn't step on the fact that it made an absolutely beautiful gain, right? So yeah, it's just binary for me. Zero emotion. If I think the price is going to go up, I'm going to go ahead and take the trade, right? Whether it's a long-term investment or leverage trade, whatever it is, right? The key is you could do that all day long if you're not taking profits, right? Which people here at $3 are thinking, oh my God, but they say it's going to $100 next Tuesday at 4:44 p.m. when they flip the switch. They're never going to take profit, dude. They're going to wait for $100, which is never going to be the case for me, right? I'm always going to be looking at the chart. Massive weekly bearish divergences, massive extension level hit, nougat. So, is what it is. I doubt XRP will go to zero. I'm looking to buy some in this lows to lower my average entry price. Shout out to Lindo. Yeah, I mean, again, I'm not one of those people that are going to tell you what altcoin to buy. I will personally, if XRP drops low enough, I'll probably buy some more XRP as well. But that is not me holding on to it for $10,000, right? That's for me to take another trade. It doesn't matter if XRP comes down here, I buy it, and it goes up and barely squeaks above its all-time high. People will say, oh, my God, that was a terrible move. It didn't do anything, but I will make 400% on my money, right? If I get the confirmations up here that I think the top is coming in. And who knows? Maybe I'll miss the top and I'll round trip it, right? I'm not perfect. Yeah, you could say that about everything. Yeah, 100%. 100%. The one consistency there is the people... if you sit there and you're saying, oh my God, Bitcoin, right? Take Bitcoin, for example. People will be like, oh my God, the days of crypto are over, right? This was obviously somewhat of a lackluster bull run. If you were looking for, Bitcoin to go to 250K, which I honestly was open about in 2022, that I think 250K, 150K are going to be those big numbers everyone calls for. It's probably going to be the one that gets front run, just like 100K here. Any other asset you look at, everyone's got that big number. It very rarely gets hit. They looked for 100K here, didn't get anywhere near it. Look for 8K here, didn't get anywhere near it. Look for 150K here. I guess you can say we got almost to it, but didn't hit it, right? Some people say, oh my God, we were supposed to, people get in, they think it's going guaranteed to go to $250,000, right? And they're thinking they're going to get, 2,000% gain. And it winds up being, 700%. People are like, oh, my God, that was the worst bull run ever. And it's like, it is what it is, right? I wasn't in from the bottom, so I didn't get 700%. But, 450, 500%, you would have to take my take profits into account as well. But I mean, that's money right there, right? 455% from my entry to where I got out, essentially. I mean, let's compare that to the SPY, bottom of 2022. 115%, 120%, right? Best performing financial asset is Bitcoin. People only talk about the dumps. I want you guys to internalize that. All right, people are like, oh, yeah, crypto it does go down. Not really. It just goes up really a lot and then down really a lot. But if you're able to time it like we are in the Mafia, at least the best of our abilities. Again, I didn't sell 126K. I sold at like 109. I sold a little bit in these prices. I think I sold a little bit at like 108, a little bit at 110. So, really up here was my average exit price. Everyone needs to see that again. Yeah, I know. I said this the other day. I saw some guy like totally trashing Bitcoin. He was like, I don't understand why people buy Bitcoin. The SPY consistently outperforms it. It's crazy. I'm like a agnostic person, right? That doesn't hurt my feelings because I like crypto at all. I don't care, right? I don't tell people what they should do, right? I think actually from the bottom of my heart, I think you should do what you want to do, right? I think that is literally the right thing to do. If you say, Frankie, I don't care what you've done. I don't want to listen to you. I'm doing what I do. I'm going to do. I genuinely think that is the correct decision for you. I'm never going to try to make you do what I want to do, right? So it didn't hurt my feelings that I hated on crypto, but the amateur scientist in me wanted to be like, jump through the screen and be like, can you show me that on a chart? Show me how the SPY has outperformed Bitcoin forever. Show me that on a chart, please. And listen, if you proved it, I would have been like, oh, dang, I'm wrong. I'm totally agnostic. I think it's like why I'm able to be why I'm successful in this, right, is because I have absolutely no ego. I always say this, right? Like my goal is, if I'm wrong, my goal is to prove that I'm wrong, whether I prove myself wrong or someone else proves me wrong. My goal is to get proven wrong as soon as possible, right? Because I want to be right. I don't want to just stick to my opinion if it's wrong, right? That's idiotic. So yeah, right? Like even if I were 100% convinced that we were going to 150K, if someone showed me a chart and was like, hey man, like look at this. Like this is really bearish. Look how it played out in the past. Like it's looking like the top is in or not going to 150K. And I was fully convinced. I would not be like, no, but we have to go to 150K because I want to make X amount of money, right? What I would do is be like, oh dang, binary. He showed me proof. Dang, I'm wrong. I don't want to get wrecked, right? That's how I would handle it. SPY is a lot less volatility. Boomers are in SPY. And listen, I'm not hating on the SPY, right? Like I'm not hating on the stock market at all. Like it's proven, right? So, the richest people in the world have made most people have made their fortune in investing in the U.S. stock market, right? So I'm not hating on that, but it's just an incorrect statement to be like, has the SPY outperformed Bitcoin for periods of time? Of course, right? Like recently, Bitcoin's nuking, SPY rips up, right? Like sure, it's outperforming there, right? But that's not 100%. So yeah, I'm not hating on that at all. I have a portion of my portfolio in indexes and stuff too. Maybe against any financial advisor's advice, I am much more exposed to crypto. But again, I do this full time. I'm sitting at this chart every day, all day. I would never recommend that for most people. Shout out to Quicker, said, yo, Franklin, why are we getting a dump while I'm on vacation? I need some pumping to make me feel like I can afford this trip. Shout out to Quicker. Hopefully we pump soon, bro. We just took out the lows, so maybe that SFP can keep pushing us. Oh, there we go, back down. All right, so yeah. Let's see. I think much degens are spread all over the markets now that it's easier to trade assets. Yeah, I would actually agree with that. I mean, hey, it's like even with like prediction markets, you can like trade on events, which is really interesting. I don't know if I said this on the live stream, but I don't even know how to say this, right? It's like, I guess I took a trade on the Knicks game. I'm not a sports guy, guys. I couldn't name you one person on the Knicks. Jaden, I think that's only because he was blowing up after they won. I don't even know his last name. I might not even be getting his name right. I don't know anything about sports. I don't follow them. I used to when I was in high school. I don't pay attention to them anymore. But I'm from New York, baby. I had to throw some money on the homeland, man. And I was out to eat with Mrs. Candles, and I actually did it on Femex, which was really cool. I took a trade, I guess you would call it. I would just call it a bet. I would never recommend gambling, but it was pretty cool. Ended up making 10 grand on that on that game. And I am an unemotional trader. I am a very emotional sports bettor, apparently, because I was losing my mind. I lost my voice. The whole next day I couldn't talk because I was screaming so loud. But it was cool because you could close the position. Say they started to lose. I could just cash out for the loss that I'm at. It's almost like you could put a stop loss on your bet, which is interesting. Do I hold Solana as I hold ETH, meaning long term? Yeah. I think, listen, again, I'm not going to tell you what altcoins to pick. It's just not my style. I'm a trader, right? I make money on the way up. I make money on the way down. The chart tells me which way it's very likely going to go, and I make decisions off of that. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I'm an expert on all the technology. It's going to take over the world for this reason. I consider myself an expert in trading and technical analysis. I'm not going to sit up here and pretend I'm an expert on the tech. Probably better off getting that information somewhere else. But personally, off my amateur research with a limited understanding of the deep tech, I think, just honestly from a market cap perspective, I do think Solana has a good chance of staying in the top 5, top 10 for long-term holds. Personally for me. I'm not telling you to do that. I tried Kalshi, not my thing, the degen version of options with a mix of gambling. It's very interesting, man. It's very interesting because I'm not a real gambler. Even when I go to Vegas, I'm just not a huge gambler. And the big reason for that is because my whole job is managing risk, and you just can't manage risk when you're at the blackjack table. So I think that's why I just naturally go away from it. But with the, on Femex, when I was in the Knicks game, I was like, oh, I just thought it was a bet. And then I was looking at it and I was like, oh my God, I could just cash it. In the beginning of the game, they were losing and I was down $2,000. Oh, I could just cash this out. And if I think they're going to lose at this point, I could just cash out and save myself. It's like a stop loss. It was super, super interesting. So it is a little bit different, I guess. Solana all the way. Yeah, I do plan on, when I hold Solana, I hold it for a long period of time. I want this much clarity in life. Shout out to Blunt and Bold. I don't know exactly what you mean by that. But I think it's what we're all looking for, clarity. I think that's why people struggle with investing, because at the end of the day, sometimes you just don't have clarity, right? There's unexpected things. There's a level of randomness to the chart, regardless of how good you are at TA, right, guys? I've had beautiful setups with every confirmation pushed into the most beautiful key levels, and they just don't play out, right? There is always going to be a level of randomness, and that is why the risk management is the important thing. You are going to take losses regardless. Now, are your super high probability setups going to play out more than a gambling knife catch? Yes. Over a long enough period of time, if you're just trying to long on big dumps, you're going to get liquidated over 100 trades, and you're going to lose all your money. It's not going to be profitable long term. But at the same time, even a good setup can get stopped out. That's why the only thing you can't control whether you win or lose, right? But what you can control is the risk management. So when I get stopped out of a trade, if I get stopped out for the small amount of risk that I was willing to take, I still classify it as a good trade. As long as I came into a key level, I had my entry trigger, I had confluence, and I used good risk management. I guess you could add a fourth check there. If that trade loses, meaning it doesn't play out, and I get stopped out, as long as I followed my rules, it's still a good trade for me. Right? Of course, it's losing on the P&L, but you're never going to avoid that. The best traders in the world's P&L does not just look like 1,000 wins in a row, all green. That's not how trading works. So the only way to control that is by following the rules, right, and managing the risk. I can lose a trade, and I can be okay with it, right? All right, I can't control it. I take losses. That took me a long time to get over, right? I used to get emotional over the losses, and now it's now I just base it on whether I follow my rules or not, right? And in the same way, I can make, degen out on a position and win the trade, make money. I made a video about this. I say this a lot, right? I made a video about this. It's still on the channel. I made, I think, $4,000, right? But I broke every rule that I have. So yay money, but I was I was tripping over that for days because I'm like, oh my God, why did I break my rules? Because I don't want to fall into bad habits. Because if I kept following those bad rules, sure, maybe that trade played out, but over enough period of time, long enough period of time, over enough trades, if I kept doing what I did on that one bad execution, I would lose money and I would not be profitable. You don't judge your trades based on whether they played out, like whether they won or lost. Judge them based on whether you were taking a legit setup and following your system, right? Because if you follow that system, you'll be profitable over time, assuming your system is good. Which, in my opinion, not even my opinion, volume profile is one of the highest probability systems that you can use. That's why I use it. Yeah, shout out to Dark says, I think trading has some portion of gambling. Yeah, I mean, gambling is defined by anything that does not have a 100% certainty of returning, right? So if you get stopped out, technically you can lose money, right? Starting a business is gambling, and that by that definition, right? You're not guaranteed to start a business and be successful. So you can turn trading into full gambling, though. Don't use a stop loss. Put your whole account on the trade. Congratulations, you just gambled. But it doesn't have to be like that. You could turn it into more of like a business. What do I need to see in the charts to go back to the 70s? Can we bounce from here and go back up? Thank you. Shout out to Davi. I don't know how to say that. But, whoops. What do we need to see to go back into the 70s? Let's see. Let's pull up the macro volume profile. Shout out to anybody who's subscribed to the channel, saw the market updates. Key level, added to my short. Like, I'm never going to give you the exact trade setups. You do that in the premium Discord. But we'll give you the key levels, and I always tell you what I'm doing, right? Adding to my short position, right? Try to read between the lines. But second level, right here, right? Why are we worried about this? Money flow is coming out on the daily. High, low. Money flow is still coming out. Major level of resistance. Also, a golden pocket 786 retracement, which is the highest probability area in my experience to see a lower high come in. If we can't get back in here, the lower high is likely for a new lower low to come in, which, by the way, we have technically just by a hair here. Done. So what do we need to see to get back into the 70s? Very simply put, right, without going into super detail and trying to call every little ebb and flow, very simply put, you absolutely 100% need to get back up here, get above the value area low, above the POC, and flip $68,000. That will very likely push you back into the 70s. Once you get above that POC, once you get above the value area low, and I would just look at this as one major level, once you flip this zone, get above the POC, next major macro target within the profile is going to be to get gravitated towards that value area high. Now, of course, money flow would have to be on our side. I don't know what money flow will look like if we get back up there. Could you bounce? Again, it's everybody wants to know, can we bounce from here and go back up there? I assume that's to know. Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. Like, should I long here for a move to 70K? I'm personally not going to do that. You have a lot of the context is pointing lower. But just from a very technical perspective, you must flip this. Then I think the probabilities of shooting up towards the high 70s. And you also have the daily MPOC that we've been looking at right here at about $71,000. Fast move up, or sorry, fast move down could be a very fast move up, right? So once you flip above this, flip that structure into support. Also have your volume profile in play at that point. You have the gravitational pull towards your value area high. And then obviously fast move downs could be fast moves up. So I think once you flip 68K, it could be a very fast move into 71,500. And then once you get above there, eventually fill that volume profile and fall to 77,000. Whether that happens from here, you have a lot of work to do to get back up there. So take that for what it's worth. Hopefully that helps you out. Very, very important. This sits between, I would say, 68 and 65,326. I would think you probably are going to spend a lot of time bing-bonging around before you see that happen. Oh, shout out to Crypto King, said, by definition, gambling is wagering on an uncertain event. Assets are not events. They are like property. Shout out to Crypto King. We could go into the 70s and then come back down for new lows in October. I mean, definitely possible. I don't want to come up here and just like point out every scenario, right? I just think that's too, like, could we do this and then that, and then this, or can we do this, and then get back up here and put in a macro lower high, and then back to, like, of course, there's going to be a million different ways that this can play out, right? But in order to call for, like, high probability moves, right, like yesterday on the live stream, the reason I had that high probability move is because we can actually see what the market is doing, right? Money flow's coming out, not pushing into any major support. All the support was lower, looking for the lower high, lower low. I can actually see that information. Forecasting the actual way that this plays out, I think the best way to do that is with Elliott waves, which I don't really use. I'm not saying they're bad. Just something, honestly, something that I've been telling myself that I want to really master. But it's just really hard to forecast right now, right? Like, I could give you the way I look at it. I think personally, based on what I look at, the big areas, like the first big zones that I would look at for lower highs and lower lows. And I will just do this from a Fibonacci perspective, right? Because it's very simple. If money flow is in the red, let me clean this up. And you know what? I'll actually go another step there. Right? There's your money flow. If money flow is in the red, right? This is my whole thought process throughout this price action. Money flow is in the red on the daily. What does this make me think? I'll just draw it. This makes me think, well, price is usually going down, right? If money flow is in the red and coming deeper, right? Especially if it's early into a crossover, and we get some kind of green dot on the daily, right? Get some kind of bullish confirmation, we hit support, and we bounce. What's my anticipation with this money flow being in the red? It's probably going to be a lower high and a lower low. This is very simple. Where is the lower high likely to come in at? How do I know how high this is going to retrace? Well, I guess at the end of the day, I don't know, right? But the high probability is I pull my fib from the high to the low, and I look for that golden pocket 786. That is where the lower high is very likely, and I'm looking for that lower high. Right? If I have money flow coming in the red and I get a bullish bounce, right? I'm not expecting that to continue the uptrend. Why? Money flow is in the red. I expect the downtrend to continue. I use the Fibonacci retracement as well as other confluences to find where those key levels are, where I have a high probability of the lower high. That's where I look for the short to get in on the trend, right? If I'm not in from the top, right? So when we apply this to the current price action, right? This is like literally free sauce. Money flow is in the red, right? What does this mean? Does this mean that we're probably going to bounce here and get a massive move up to new highs? No. It means that we're looking for lower high, lower low, which, again, we just did. Plays out once again, right? On the 4 hours, the same thing, right? 4 hour money flow in the red. Lower high, lower low. We actually front ran the golden pocket, but what was I looking at yesterday to anticipate that lower high? I was looking at this golden pocket. Barely front ran it, right? You're not always going to tap the level. More often than not, you will. I'd say about 80% of the time you'll get it. Right here, daily money flow is in the red. Coming to bar replay mode to make it even simpler. What am I thinking in this scenario, guys? This is like an interactive trading class. What is my anticipation? I just explained it, right? So probably not necessary to answer. But at this point, right, let's say I get a green dot on the daily. Maybe we did. Let's see. Oh, no, I have the green dots turned off. But at this point, what am I thinking, right? I'm thinking probably going to get a lower high and a lower low, right? In some form or fashion, I'm expecting to not take out this high, reject, and continue lower. How do I know where to look for that rejection? And all covered live, right, on the market updates, right? So if you want to learn this in real time, you can see these levels, what I do when we drop the videos, right? So you can actually see it on live price action. But what is my anticipation here, right? Well, me personally, right, you can always pull the full Fibonacci retracement, but there's no guarantee you're going to get that full retracement. So where am I going to pull it from? I'm going to pull it from the lower high, right? High, low, lower high, lower low, lower high. I'm going to pull it from the lower high to the low. This is going to be the first big area I'm looking at for rejection. Now, this was also an interesting level because it was confluent with the value area low of our macro range, which is also a major level of resistance, right? If we're going to bearishly retest this and get a rejection, it's nice to see that golden pocket 786. So my anticipation is 4 hour money flow is coming into the red. Daily money flow's already in the red. I'm looking for lower highs and lower lows. Where am I going to, the first place I'm going to anticipate that is right here. And of course, obviously, we push into it, literally wick right into the golden 786, close below the golden pocket, and there's the continuation down. right? Very simple. Does it play out 100% of the time? No. Sometimes you'll reject a local golden pocket. You won't make it all the way up here, and you'll miss the trade, right? But the way I do that, right, like if you were looking at the full fib here, oh, did you hit this? All right, never mind. You hit this anyway. So it wouldn't even really matter which one you were looking at. But sometimes you won't get the push into the full fib. So I'm always going to look at the local fib first, pull it from the lower high, and then I'll say this is the first area that I'm going to look for the lower high. To get confirmation, charts, again, you have to understand the confirmations and how the market moves. You have to understand this stuff. You would never just blindly short this. It would take me way too long to explain all of this. But this would be the first place, right? If I don't get the confirmations, the chart looks good for a continuation up, I simply look at the larger fib and I say, hey, this is the highest I want the retracement to go while still looking for a lower high. Once I break above that 786, it's invalidated. So if I don't get the confirmation at that fib and I flip the 786, I expect the continuation up, and I avoided 2 bad shorts. So when we look at the current price action, the biggest levels I would look at right now for lower highs and lower lows, and I'm going to incorporate the volume profiles for confluence, or confluence, as some people say. Let's see. You do still have your support here that would be resistance, right? So like this is kind of, let me see if I can come on down to a lower time frame here. I would say in general, level number 1, right? If you get a big bounce, this is a general area, right? Retest the value area low, can't hold this support, could be the lower high. And again, it is confluent with the golden pocket, right? At least just the golden pocket. 786, not really. So I would say that would be the full high, low, lower high, lower low. Pull it from there. This is going to be a big zone, really testing this entire value area low zone. It's going to be very, 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 very big. Now, can you reject super hyper local fibs? Yes, guys, absolutely, right? More often than not, I like to get the bigger fibs, but at the end of the day, right, you could pull from any of these swing highs. I wouldn't worry too much about this, right? But you could pull from this swing to this swing. Who knows? Maybe you put the lower high in here and you continue down. But I would say like the major levels, maybe they get hit, maybe they don't, would be number 1, pulled from the lower high to the low. And then the next one I would look at, if we get above that, right, we don't get the confirmations and we keep pushing up, at that point, I would pull from the next lower high, right, giving me this next little fib here. Let's pull up the key levels, somewhat confluent with your POC. Let me check this. Yeah, I mean, this would definitely be the next place to pull it from. If you get above there, I would just pull it from here. If I had to make this super simple to understand, I would say these are the 2 levels, right? $63,000. If I'm looking for lower highs and lower lows, and again, we're going to do the same thing I just did in bar replay mode. 4-hour money flow is in the red. Any bounces have to be looked at as lackluster. Lower high, lower low. Continue the downtrend. If you get above there, I would look between about 64 and 65,500. And the simplest way to look at it is just to look at it through the entire full fib, from the high, absolute high, to the low. The only reason I bring up the local level is because it's not guaranteed that you're going to get that full retracement. Right? Once you flip that 786, I think you move to the POC. At that point, flip the POC, get back into the range, fill it in full. So I would say this is probably the biggest last level, right? There's no guarantee you get up there. And then locally, and you don't have to worry about, and like it even makes sense with that. I don't want to confuse you guys, right? But like it just makes so much sense. Just looking at your profile, right? We could even take this one off. I got a Lucy hair in the mouse. Oh my God. I got to stop putting Lucy on the desk. All right. When you just look at this from your volume profile perspective, Bearish retest of the value area low. Golden pocket 786. This is your first area to look for the lower high. If you can't hold inside there, you can look for the continuation down. Once you flip that 786, you're inside the profile. Very high probability that you fill the rest of the profile in full, which lands you right into that next level of resistance. So you basically would just trade this as a range. And for me, right, you could always try to catch the knife if you want, but in this particular scenario, I would rather be late than early to any long positions, right? And then potentially, depending on what money flow looks like up here, just trade this, deviation above the high. If I get the bearish confirmations, I could look to short it back into the range, continue the downtrend. So to just simply mark these off on your chart, zone number 1, major zone number 1, 61,241 to 62,352. Zone number 2, 65.5 to 64K. Those are the two major areas to look at. And to kind of compare this to the past, could come into the dining room, actually, because I posted this into the freemium section of the premium Discord. Where is it at? That's premium. Here it is. If we were looking for lower highs and lower lows, where would be the two major levels to look at? You had the first one here for potential short opportunity. We actually did get a nice 2% drop from there, but it ended up not playing out in full. Where did we end up getting the next lower high? Right into that second level. Nobody knows if you're going to reject the local level or the full level, right, or the upper fib. So what I do is I look at the first one. If there's a reason to take a trade, I'll take it. This one came down 2%. I didn't personally take this because I already added to my short from higher. But you push in here. If there's a short position to be taken, maybe it comes down 2%. In this case, it did. You can lock in small profits or even just move your stop loss to break even. If it's going to be a lower low, you're in from the lower high. If it comes up to stop you out, you're either getting stopped out at break even or stopped out in profit. Second opportunity, up into the golden pocket value area low retest. Second opportunity for the short, you could take it, come down to about 2%, lock in some profits, or move your stop loss to break even, or both, and then eventually it's the lower high, and you can play that out for a very nice move, right? I think I actually have this set up. Oh, I deleted the actual position. But just to show that on the chart here, the place we rejected from was right there. Does that make sense? Oh, no, I'm so, it's the same things I just pulled. It was this one. Right? Yeah, 786 right above the value area low. Or, yeah. So there you go. It's the same ones I just did in that, in the bar replay. And then this was the, I believe, the first rejection. Let me just make sure this is, what is that, 63,915? I don't want to do Fugazi stuff here. I want to make sure this is actually 63,915. Yeah, 63,915. Might have been pulled from a different wick. But there you go, right? Come in, little rejection. I believe that was the 2% drop. Yep, there it is. Right? So, you know, even if you get stopped out for a small loss, you're either going to get the rejection here for the lower high and lower low, or here for the lower high and the lower low. It ended up being the second case. And, you know, this is where people get tripped up, right? It's like, you may look at this and be like, well, you know, I short here, get stopped out, take another short. What if that one stops out? You can't avoid the losses, right? And again, more often than not, if you're using good risk management, a 2% move down is plenty to take some profit, right? So you could maybe turn this into a small winner, take another trade up here, or even if you, let's just assume you don't take profit, you don't move your stop loss, you get stopped out for a small loss, right? Let's say you're risking 1% of your account. You get stopped out for a small loss. You take the second opportunity. You're taking a very, very small loss, but look at your winner. Right? So this loss doesn't really mean anything if you're going to be able to catch the move. Does that make sense? So again, same exact thing in the current price action, just a different spot on the chart, obviously. And again, I'm not going to give you the exact setups, but I do think just in general, if you're looking for lower highs and lower lows, might be this one. Might not be. Maybe you don't get the confirmations. Maybe you don't take the trade. Maybe you take the trade and get stopped out. If it's not going to be here, the next place to look is here. And once you get up here, maybe you don't get the confirmations and it looks like we're going to go higher. Could have happened in the setup that I just showed you. But I'd like to show this like as closely as possible, right? We did it here. If I were to do the exact same thing, that's where I'd be looking, right? Doesn't mean it's that guarantee going to play out, but I'm not holding anything back here. This is the most free value you can get, the most free trading education, the most in-depth, in-detail, realistic trading education you can get. So there you go. MicroStrategy dumping. What will he do to save it? Let's check it. Let's check MicroStrategy. So we used MicroStrategy absolutely beautifully here to predict Bitcoin's capitulation. Let me just pull it up side by side because I think this is very, very, very easy on the eyes. It's just so similar. Bitcoin, MicroStrategy. Previous value. Previous value. Or I'm sorry, I believe it was this previous value. Does that make sense? And you can see my cursor on both charts. Previous value, or current value at the time, previous value, current value at the time, previous value. We saw MicroStrategy losing its value area low, headed towards the value area high, filling it in full. What do we expect from Bitcoin? Lose the value area low. And again, MicroStrategy did this first, which was all in line with all the other TA we looked at here. Weekly money flow coming into the red, bearish confirmations, all the stuff we looked at to anticipate this fast drop through our low volume gap. Another cheat code in trading. Massive low volume gap, not going to hold price up well. Expect not only a dump, but an aggressive fast drop to the downside. Looking to fill the volume profile in full. Capitulation brings us right down to that value area low. Absolutely beautiful. So the reason I bring this up is because we could try to see if we could do the same thing here. Let's see. There's your 2021 value area for MicroStrategy. Here's your 2021 value area for Bitcoin. So what do we have here? We have MicroStrategy leaving its previous value, which would be like right here on Bitcoin, and headed towards that value area high. Again, just because it worked out perfectly here does not mean it has to work out perfectly in this case. But does that mean that we could potentially anticipate Bitcoin to lose its value area and head down towards the 50s? Which, at the end of the day, is the next major key level that we've been looking at, between $58,000 and $54,000. And potentially, this value area is on the Bitstamp chart, so it does pull down to about 50K. But could be an early sign there. So there you go. Very interesting. This is why I love charts, especially when it plays out. Like, we looked at this, and it just wound up literally doing exactly what you thought it would do. 16K likely if the stock market collapses. I mean, I don't know. Bitcoin has never revisited it. Now, I wouldn't say it's impossible, obviously. Never in my life, right? I've been around crypto. I've been trading long enough to understand nothing is impossible. Yes, I have been before a person. I never said this online because I was much more experienced once I had my YouTube channel. But, a lot of people will say, we'll never see below 50K again. We'll never see below 100K again, whatever it is, right? And I'm just like, man, I've been in this market way too long to be naive enough to think that Bitcoin's not going to ever break another level, right? So I wouldn't say it's impossible. Here's the thing. Let me come back to the full screen. That would be calling for a 87% correction, or 16K, an 87% correction on Bitcoin. That would be the deepest bear market we have ever seen in crypto. The absolute deepest. It's never gone that low. This was 86%, so almost gone that low, but it would still be more, right? We've never even gotten anywhere near previous bear market lows, right? The last bear market low, like look how far away that previous bear market low is. It would be another 78% drop to get to the bear market lows, right? We didn't go anywhere near that, right? Here, we didn't get anywhere near the bear market low. So you would be banking on something that has literally never, ever happened in the history of Bitcoin to happen. Does that mean it's impossible? No, right? I'm not using that to disprove that theory at all. I think if you're going to see Bitcoin at 30K, 16K, I mean, that's absolutely absurd, in my opinion. But if that's going to happen, I think there would have to be some kind of serious black swan event, right? Maybe it's a massive stock market 2008 financial crisis type move. Bitcoin has not been through a recession, right? This is something Bitcoin has not gone through, right? So we don't know how it'll behave, right? It was basically made in response to the 2008 financial crisis, right? Quote unquote. So if we were to see something like that happen, maybe I think that's a plausible thought, right? If it's some kind of serious black swan, 2008 style type thing, we would see Bitcoin do something that it's never done. And the reason that would be somewhat plausible in that scenario is because Bitcoin would go through something that it's never gone through. So I do think if you're going to see those lower levels, you would be banking on some kind of gigantic financial collapse. Maybe it happens, right? I'm not saying it's not going to happen, but I do think that would have to be some kind of condition that's met. We've actually talked about that a long time ago. Yeah, I mean, in my opinion, I think like 30K or like 16K would be like people calling for the 3K CME gap. But again, I mean, even back here, right, if we had some kind of black swan event, financial crisis, Bitcoin's never been through that. I think that is when I started talking about that, when people, wow, man, we might be getting close to the bottom. It is like everything just reminds me of back here. We would need some kind of financial crisis, right? I talk about Bitcoin never being through any kind of like real true recession. You want to consider 2020 a recession? Maybe. It was very short-lived. But if you saw some real kind of like long-term 2008 type financial crisis, Bitcoin's never been through that. Maybe then you could start seeing 8K. So I would say that's kind of the same thing. Like if you're going to see those super lower numbers, I think something might break in the stock market that could, because it also, for me personally, right, like if the stock market starts going to zero, through my experience, right, there's no real case where the stock market is going down like crazy, where Bitcoin's just outperforming insanely, right? They do typically follow each other for the most part. They're pretty pegged, right? Obviously small deviations here and there, but back here, 2022 bear market, stock market was doing the same thing. Bottom comes in, bull market, same thing. It always lines up almost perfectly, right? Obviously, the ebbs and flows are a little bit different. We actually had a little deviation here recently. So, it goes like, sure, we've never seen bear market lows before, but if the stock market goes down, I would expect Bitcoin to follow, right? So, or I shouldn't even say I expect it. It historically will, right? Hopefully that makes sense. Shout out to TradeMade. Thank you for the super chat, brother. Said, hey, Frankie, why do you think alts like Solana and Hype are holding up stronger now than the last time BTC went to 60K? Let's see. Let's actually check in on Hype real quick. Thank you for the super chat, TradeMade. Good to see you in here, bro. Shout out to anybody in the previous live stream. Yeah, I don't know. When was it? I think it must have been Friday. We were pushing into the value area high. No. Yeah, it must have been maybe Thursday or maybe Monday. I think it might have been Monday. I don't know. Somewhere up, either here or here. Talking about this value area high. I'm just going to take a little deviation here real quick. No pun intended. Get accepted into the range, right? We see all this high hourly time frame money flow coming into the red. High, low, lower high, lower low. Get stuck inside the profile. Next likely place for price to go. POC of the range. Literally bottomed out right on the POC in the range. I don't show this to be like, oh my God, look, we were right. As a matter of fact, I said if I were to, there were two ways to short this. Of course, never financial advice. You could always take the aggressive option above the value area high. Maybe stop above these highs. First target point of control, second target value area low. My personal preference, this is absolutely valid. But in that live stream I talked about, for me personally, I would prefer to see a bigger retracement just because it would feel a little late to short here just for my style. But the risk would be that I would potentially not get that retracement, right? So in this case, if I waited for that retracement, I didn't get it. The aggressive option worked. But just to kind of show the volume profiles, very simply put, get stuck inside the range, cannot get out. Money flow is coming into the red. You're accepted into the profile. You already have your downtrend starting. Money flow is letting you know it's likely to continue. You're looking for lower highs, accepted into the profile. POC is that next magnetic target. And look at this. Absolutely insane. Can actually zoom in here. Even just move the POC actually on the line. Boop. Right into the point of control. Volume profiles are the best creation of mankind. If you want to make money, at least. Obviously, there's better inventions out there. But if you want to make money trading, it is the best creation. But yeah, why do I think it's holding up better? I mean, all I can really give you is a chart-based perspective, right? Because again, I am not an expert on the technology. I'm not going to sit up here and pretend like, oh, well, they're using whatever, some protocol, and it's the best protocol. It's going to be around forever. I'm not going to do that, right? Because I don't really know about that stuff. I'm a chart guy. The reason I would say we have been looking at this to continue up, started all the way back here. Massive 3-day bullish divergences, and then as we started to work our way up, looking to break inside this volume profile, flip the value area low to support, tried to flip the POC, but eventually you stay inside the profile, look for the range to fill in full. At this point, we had 3-day money flow continuing into the green, meaning that the long-term trend would continue up. We get a high, a higher low, technical higher high by just a little hair. And I would say this 3-day money flow actually still doesn't look that bad. Right? So from a chart perspective, this looked good ever since you looked decent ever since you put this 3-day bull div in. And even if you come on down to some of the lower time frames, like take a look at the daily, or the 2-day rather, once you get into this volume profile, you're flipping the value area low to support. 2-day money flow is continuing up. At that point, your expectation is for the trend to continue up. And then once you get up here, 3-day money flow starts crossing into the green. 4-day money flow starts crossing into the green, right? So you start to see that as a strong chart, right? Like this actually didn't look bad. We actually talked about this, and I was like, it's kind of weird, right? Because Bitcoin looks like trash, but I have no choice, right? I don't have a bias. Oh, Bitcoin's going down. This has to go down. Again, very binary. Right? The chart doesn't look bad. You got nice bull divs, money flows coming up. It looks good. What happens? You put in new all-time highs. So from a chart perspective, this actually has looked good for quite a while. And I would say right now, I mean, of course, you look for the correction through the profile that we looked at on last week's live stream. But yeah, I mean, your 3-day money flow still technically in the green here. So it's a strong asset, I guess. But yeah, that's what I would how I would explain it through the chart. But yeah, I don't have any like event that happened or anything like no narrative or anything like that. So shout out to TradeMate. Hopefully that makes sense for you. Yo, shout out to Jack. Thank you for gifting those memberships, baby. Let's go. Shout out to Jack for gifting the memberships. Was that 5 free Frankie Candles memberships? Mafia showing love tonight. Let's go. Love to each other, that is. Housing market is way overpriced. All goods are 20% in 2 years, and most people can barely afford their bills. Yeah, I do think that is true. I just again not a narrative guy. I won't go into the whole spiel. But yeah, just show me the charts, and I will pick a direction. Yeah, I just think narratives are just time and time again. It is proven that the charts are the truth. It's not, again, when it comes to something like a black swan, I always talk about this on Bitcoin. It's like, listen, can you predict a real black swan? Not really, right? Like this is as pretty unpredictable as they come. But again, right, when you look at this from a chart perspective, pull up the daily. Would I be looking for a massive long position here? Or would I be looking for shorts? Probably looking for shorts, right? Why would that be? Well, you have 3 drives of bearish divergence, or I guess 3 drives on price, 2 drives on momentum. I actually don't even really like that divergence. This is actually one of those divergences I really wouldn't love. But if we zoom in, let me go into bar replay mode so I can go back to a different time frame. Daily wasn't really what I wanted to look at. But let's just take a look at it. Maybe there was a reason to go long here. I don't know. I don't believe there was because we've looked at this in the past, right? Number one, I'm never going to long into green candles like this. I would at least be looking for some kind of a pullback. Also, not the cleanest div ever, but you have the higher highs on your price action, lower highs on your momentum waves, bearish divergence forming, 5-hour bear div looking to form, 8-hour bearish divergence. Now, this wouldn't necessarily indicate that you're about to have a recession, right? Or I don't know if you would consider this a recession, very short-lived recession. But at the end of the day, right, like this is a bearish confirmation, right? I would be in a short. I might not know that I'm about to catch a massive move on a huge financial collapse, but at the end of the day, it eventually winds up playing out for a massive move down. So again, would I necessarily pay attention to, I think a lot of people think if you don't pay attention to that, you're going to miss the move down. And it's like, from a macro perspective, this would still, from a cycle perspective, look to me, right, from a chart view, much more like the bull market is beginning, right? Massive capitulation, sideways accumulation, money flow coming up on your weekly. Yes, you have the big recession, sure, but the bottom is still in, right? So if you accumulated down here, right, maybe you go back to break even. Maybe depending on your average entry price, you go into the negative a little bit. But at the end of the day, it was just a quick little retest of what? That 786 Fibonacci retracement. Low, high, higher, low. Massive bull market. Money flow crosses green. Trend is likely to continue to the upside. Yes, you had a massive dump, but where do you put in the high or low? Right on the 786 for the continuation of the weekly trend. So I don't pay attention to narratives. I'm not saying what was happening here was not affecting the price. I'm not saying this was a fake dump. I'm not saying they did this to touch the 786. These are very real things. And sometimes, to be fair, the narrative can step on the TA. But in my experience, it happens about 2 out of 10 times. So yeah, this is not the way I trade. Shout out to Lindo, said my phone battery my phone battery's about to die. I'm not watching on my TV because I'm with my brother watching the World Cup soccer match. Shout out to Lindo. We'll miss you, Lindo. We'll miss you. Cue Titanic music. When will my bills lose value as fast as Bitcoin? Oh, man. Are we getting Indian Martini said, Frankie, are we getting ready for Hell Range 2.0? Basically the same accumulation range of 2024. You ready to preach the power of the volume profile for a few months? Shout out to Indian Martini. Yeah, man, that would be brutal. That would be brutal, brother. I mean, I'll just pull up the fractal here real quick. This would be, again, if it plays out exactly like the previous bear market, which is not necessarily guaranteed, but if it does end up being like that, he's calling for something like this. This is pulled from back here. Yeah, I'll tell you what I won't like about this. Let's just assume, I don't think this is likely going to happen, but if it just follows exactly what this is going to do, what I'm not going to like is this hell range, this hell range, this hell range, and this hell range, all ending in pretty much a giant hell range, which is going to be beautiful for making money trading, because that's the bread and butter of my trading strategy, is to trade those volume profiles, which are essentially ranges. But from a content perspective, we're going to have some slow weeks there. No one's going to care if we chop sideways. They care right now because we dumped, but once we go sideways, they don't care. Dumps, they care. Then they don't care. Now they care. Now they don't. Then they care. Now they don't. So we'll see. It would be absolutely freaky, guys, if we wind up. It's actually interesting, too, because if you look at this, it's like, obviously don't expect this to play out perfectly, but it's like bearish retest. There's your $65,000 value area low, lower high, lower low, weekly bull div, back in, back to the high, back to the low, breakout, retest, retest, send it. Pretty interesting. But yeah, that will be brutal. So yeah, I mean, I think personally, and again, whether this dump down here brings us to 47, 41K, and then we wick back up, does seem very eerie, very eerily similar to somewhere in here, guys. Slip down below. We'll see. Lose that 47K POC. We'll have to call for the much lower prices. But until then, man, this is the time to pay attention to Bitcoin. Oh, the hell range from 2024. Oh, this one. Let's pull that volume profile up real quick. Where we at? There we go. So yeah, of course you can look at this. Yeah, I mean, assuming that you don't have to get a big drop down into the low 50s, or maybe you deviate back in. Oh man, yeah, I see what you're talking about. Or maybe October bottom, then back out. I mean, it does, yeah, very similar. Man, tons of money to be made. Not a ton of super exciting content, though. No, I can't relive that trauma. Shout out to P-Dub. That would be brutal, bro. Would be brutal, but it's definitely a valid profile to look at. I don't want to confuse everybody with like 17 different profiles, but can't hold the high, back in, POC, can't hold the POC, back to the low. Once you hold the low, next likely place for price to go, POC, rejected from the POC. We all knew that this was likely to be a lower high. Again, if I'm looking for this range, right, what is the difference here? This range breaks out, right? Because you would be thinking here, hey, break back into the range, can't get out, go back to the POC, lose the POC low, right? Right? Volume profiles, right? No. Look at your money flow. Trend is likely to continue up, in which case you can expect the continuation of the trend higher, which obviously we were talking about at this point. Long that sucker the whole way, and then shorted the sucker the whole way. But let's apply that, right? Let's apply that. Here, would I expect a full rotation of this volume profile? No. Money flow is pointing against that. POC holds, breakout, continuation of the long-term trend to the upside. Very simple. Would I expect to hold this low, push to the POC, go to the high, and break out? No. Why would I not anticipate that? Look at our money flow. This is a little bit more indicative. I mean, unless you can reclaim, flip 65K, and money flow is coming back into the green, that would be a different story. But yeah, money flow is just not in the most beautiful situation here. But we'll see. Let's pull actual market cipher back up. See where this closes, because you could eventually print this into a daily bull div. But I would just be careful. Again, because looking at it through our original perspective, whoops. Yeah, we'll have to see with that daily money flow. I would say your ticket to the 70s is to flip that 68K POC. Send it to the 70s. Until then, I'd be very wary of lower highs and lower lows like we have for this entire ride down. There's a reason we look for this. Not impossible to get the big move, but I'd be very suspicious. Look at this 8-hour money flow still trying to stay in the green. That's crazy. Some don't believe in the flow. I don't know why. I don't know why they wouldn't. Do I have any trades open or am I just chilling? Yes, I have 3 short positions open. Numero uno. This one's already... they all have profits locked in at this point. Numero dos. Numero tres. This was the one that I added to at 67,000. Have you talked about gold yet? I have not checked in on gold. We could take a look at it. Yo, shout out to Nordic. Said, Frankie, when are we booking a whole all-inclusive resort in the Caribbean for the Mafia to meet up and party? Shout out to Nordic, bro. That would be sick. 100,000 subscribers. Maybe we'll do something cool like that. Can I request a cruise? All-inclusive resorts are fire, but I'm a cruise guy. What am I shorting? I am shorting Bitcoin. All those shorts are Bitcoin. We officially have a bull div on the daily. I wouldn't say officially. It is definitely looking to form. But you gotta wait. You gotta wait for this. Or for me personally, if you're looking at Market Cipher, right? If you take a look at the RSI, again, the reason I like Market Cipher is because you can confirm the bullish divergence, right? So if I pull up the RSI, definitely a bullish divergence on Market Cipher and the RSI to confirm it is potentially forming, right? But the problem for me here is to say this is confirmed, I need to have that green dot print. Once that green dot prints, then I can say it's confirmed. Otherwise, right, if we get even if the green dot is printing and then you get another dump before that confirms, this momentum wave is just going to continue down and you might just print a lower wave. But it is definitely forming here. You have the lower low, you have the higher low, and for what it's worth, you do have the macro value area low here. So maybe we put the daily bull div in here. But again, even if the daily candle closes here, we're not going to have that green dot. I could try to find an example of that where you had a bullish divergence that didn't confirm. Let me see here. It's going to be really hard to kind of like reverse engineer an bull div that didn't play out or didn't print. But I think you guys get the point, right? It's always better to wait for confirmation. The only problem with the daily is by the time you wait for that confirmation, price can, by the time that green dot prints, you're probably already going to have a push up. You're not going to want to enter your trade up there. So what I do is I look at the higher time frame div, and then I jump down to the lower time frames to find some kind of confirmation, right? A key reclaim, low time frame bullish divergences, right? For example, let's just say, again, we don't really have key levels down here, but let's say we put in a bull div here into a key level. Right, you can enter on this confirmation, which will get you in on a much better level. And then on the way up, as that bull div prints, let's say the green dot prints on the daily up here, well, at least your entry is from much lower. And then that daily bull div just helps that trade play out. You're already in massive profit on that long before that daily bull div even confirms, which is nice because at that point, it's like that daily bull div just confirmed, and I'm already in massive profit. So it's not even started to play out yet, and I'm already in my position. But yeah, it is definitely looking to print here for sure. Have you ever gone to the Bitcoin conference? Yeah, I was at the Vegas conference this year, a couple of months ago. Super fun. I've been to almost every Bitcoin conference except for the one 2 years ago. The first one in Vegas was the first one I didn't go to. I had a bunch of stuff I had to take care of and couldn't make it, unfortunately. But I've been to every conference except for that one since 2021. Do I move my stop loss into profit as the trade continues in your favor? If so, where do you place them? Shout out to JP. Yeah, I usually will take profit first, and then I'll move my stop loss to break even. And then if my trade is like super in profit, I will trail my stop up. I usually just use structure for something like that. It really depends on the trade, right? For example, let's say, I was long from here. I didn't necessarily do this on this particular position. But let's say, typically what I'll do is like once I hit a major key level, I'll take some profit, move my stop loss to break even. What does that do? It puts me in a guaranteed winning trade. If it comes down and stops me out, I make money. If it continues up, I can still make more profit. And then, let's say this ends up like super continuing up. At that point, right, you could just continue to trail that stop loss higher and higher, right? to your heart's desire, to be honest. I would never say that's a bad idea. Of course, if you're up prices, if you're just like right up on price, you're going to have a high chance of getting stopped out. You're stopped out in profit, which is nice. But, if my anticipation is that price is going to retrace to here and then continue up for a massive move, you just got to be careful of that, right? Because like if I'm looking for a higher low here and I want to hold that trade, I'm not necessarily, when I'm sitting here, gonna slam my stop loss like right up against price, right? Because then I'll stop out, and I'm expecting a higher low and higher high. Why would I want to get stopped out before that continuation? So it really depends on each individual position. It's going to change trade to trade. There's a cruise terminal in New York. Yeah, I've been out of that cruise terminal quite a few times. And New Jersey. I didn't know they had one in New Jersey. But yeah, cruises are awesome. I love cruises. You just don't have to worry about anything. Everything's on your card. Super dope. And it's just kind of like when I go on a vacation, I don't want to do anything. And I think a cruise is like a perfect time to do that, or perfect place to do that. They got 18 bars. They got clubs. They got game shows. They got everything. You can just kind of walk around and do nothing, which, again, when I go on vacation, I want to lay around and do nothing. Did you hear about Wendy's? Whales shorted it. Now Wall Street Bets is all over it trying to pump Wendy's. No way. No way. No way. Bro. Bro, that's kind of wild. All right, Wendy's is the new GameStop. Let's go. Got a squeeze there? I'm all on team squeeze the whales, man. I love that. Wild. How's Wendy's done? Wow. Screw Bitcoin. Should have invested in Wendy's in 75, 74. Cruise bad, all inclusive great. I just feel like I would get bored at an all. I've been to all inclusive. I've been to both. The last time I went to an all inclusive, I was a long time ago. But I do prefer cruises. I just feel like you're just stuck in. People say they feel like they're stuck on a boat. If you've been on a modern cruise ship, you were not stuck on a boat. But I felt more stuck at the all inclusive. I guess you can like go drive outside the resort, but a lot of those places you don't really want to leave the resort. You're kind of just stuck there. The cruise goes to other places, sometimes multiple places. Go to 3 destinations. But yeah, I don't know. I don't hate all inclusives. I just see it as a missed opportunity to go on a cruise. I work at the Baltimore Cruise Terminal. Definitely don't leave out of there. Shout out to the Joe Ragan experience. Yeah, it's a floating all-inclusive, right? Like, when I'm at an all-inclusive, I'm like, wow, this would be, like, way cooler if we were in the middle of the ocean. Just as me. I guess if you're, like, afraid to go on boats, I guess that would be a big thing. Yeah, petri dish of diseases, that's definitely true. I've had nothing but good experiences, but I know there have been, like, a small percentage of really bad experiences. I pray I never have to go through that. You ever look up the poop cruise? Good Lord, man, that would be brutal. Tau 4-hour looking good. Kind of chilling at this point, guys. Kind of covered everything we needed to talk about. What are we at? Oh my God, we're almost at 2 hours and 40 minutes here. Let's take a look at Tau. I don't know why they moved all this stuff around. All my recently visited exchanges were right at the top, and now they're not. Guys, Lucy's losing her mind right now. She's getting restless. I guess we can look at the Bitstamp chart. I don't really want to spend too... Oh, my God. Let's see. Just pull up the Bybit. All right. Look at the USDT. Nice little bullish wick there. Lower lows on your price action. Higher lows on your potential 4-hour bull div looking to form there. course, you have to remember money flow is in the red. Doesn't mean you can't get bounces, but I would just keep that in mind. Daily money flow about to cross back into the red here. Dude, Lucy's doing backflips right now, guys. Let me just pull this. Man. Pull this volume profile. Got your value area high, POC, value area low. All right, so let's see here. I mean, most important level to reclaim here is for two reasons. I'll show you the second one in a second. I would say from a bullish divergence perspective, a potential bullish wick perspective, definitely not the worst thing. But from a money flow perspective, I would still be cautious of lower highs and lower lows. Just pull this fib real quick. So I'd say your first yeah. So I would say this is the biggest level to flip. Get above this local value area low and POC. Again, 4-hour bull div. From that perspective, not too bad. Money flow looks kind of trash right now, but that may change. I would not get super, super excited until you can get above, number one, the value area low at 238. Once you get above there, you can look for the push into the POC, which is also the value area low of your macro range. Once you get above there, I would say personally, could potentially get accepted into the upper profile. And this would be your... These would be the two biggest levels of resistance. If you get a significant move up, yeah, of course, this is pretty local. I'm not going to keep this marked out because it's also kind of incorporated here on the value area low. But I would say personally, these are the two major levels to look at. Potential lower high, lower low. Potential lower high, lower low. Once you get above that 786, I think you have a real 786 sitting at 273.27. Once you get above there, I think you have a really high probability chance of getting up to 309 and then flip that value area high, potential head up towards that macro POC. So again, looking good. I don't know exactly what you mean by looking good. I don't know what kind of move you're looking for. I would say potential bullish divergence, maybe looking to form here, but money flow still kind of not looking super hot on the 4-hour. So I would just be careful on that. Daily money flow is trending out over time. So maybe a local bounce, sure. I would just be careful around those two key levels of resistance, 237.20 and 2 to 250.43. Second zone, 257.53 to 273.66. So there you go. Yeah, the hantavirus outbreak. I haven't been on a cruise in quite some time. But yeah, I mean, I've been on a lot of cruises. I've never had a bad experience. That's not to say that they don't happen. I guess I'm lucky. Yo, shout out to P-Dub said, pause, repeat everything you said in the last 15 minutes. My wife called and hijacked the stream. Shout out to P-Dub. All right, from the top, baby, from the top. Shout out to D-Lo Gaming, said, best crypto show on the internet. Thanks for making me a better trader, good sir. Shout out to D-Lo. I appreciate you for saying that, bro. That is my goal here. Also to get, some likes as well. I'm just want to feel good, guys. Just want to feel good. But yeah, of course, bro. That's what we're here to do. We're here to help you, and that's really what I care about. I genuinely mean that. I know everybody and their grandma I'm here to help you, but then they tell you to buy their meme coin and rug it. I will never do that to you. I genuinely This is what fulfills me. I love my job. I have fun doing my job, and I feel super blessed. I get to stream full time. This is the coolest thing in the world. Trading is the other love of my life. I get to do this full time. It's awesome. I get to meet all of not meet, but I get to hang out with the CandleMafia, the coolest crypto community, or just community in general. I love doing this. I enjoy every second of it. But that's not as fulfilling as when I'm able to visibly see that we're helping people. That's what keeps me doing it, right? It's very exhausting. Takes a lot of energy, takes a lot of work. There's a lot of stuff going on the back end, but that's why we do it. That is the purpose of this channel, to help you learn how to make money trading crypto, make money trading Bitcoin, whether price goes up or down. Almost messed up my own mission statement. I got so sunburnt last time I went on a cruise. I don't really burn. I burn like one time in the beginning of the summer, and then I just get really tan. Don't go outside as much as I used to nowadays. Just staring at the charts for too long. But let me do one more last quick check-in on Wendy's. No, I'm just kidding. One last quick check-in on Bitcoin, guys. Leave you guys off with some key levels. Just pull the... Where are we at? Where's our local fib? Where's the first local one that we pulled? Right there. So yeah, I mean, listen, hyper locally. This would be like very local resistance. We'll see if we can hit this on the SFP here. Money flow trying to round off here on the 7-minute. Let's see if we got a little 2-hour green dot. 1-hour green dot. Okay. So yeah, SFP of the lows. I mean, somewhat of a bounce. I would say this is a very local level of resistance. I'm not saying that this is a place to necessarily look for a short. It's not that big of a move. But this sits between about, ends at about 60,222, starts at about, call it 60K, 59,960. But I wouldn't consider those major levels. I want to zoom out and give you guys like more palatable major levels of resistance. Right now, guys, I would say no real major sign of strength until we can get a big move, get back above all that resistance, flip the value area low, and then we can start talking about a bigger move to the upside. Until then, I would be very careful with the daily money flow being in the red. Be careful out there. Price moves in waves, right? So even if we bounce, we still have to be careful of the lower highs and lower lows. Biggest zone of resistance. Let me just pull these back up. Gonna have to hunt for these in a second. For a second. This is all our examples. Boom, 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 boom. Boom, 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 boom. Pull up the support. So first major zone. We have all of our major support that we looked at yesterday, which obviously was completely melted through. This could turn into resistance. I would say between the value area low, just flip this red. Value area low from a very simple outlook. Just like on every profile we look at, when we looked at the macro profile, it is going to be resistance until proven otherwise. When money flow is coming out, it's a high probability you'll get the big rejection. Same thing, just from a smaller perspective. This sits between, call it 60,800 all the way up to 61,432. You'll also have your fib retracement, which that box was from. Golden Pocket is backing you up into like the 61.6 zone. And then, yeah, I just don't have really another significant higher low. Yeah, I would definitely say this is the first major zone. Once we get above here, I mean, I'll probably check in with you guys before we even get up there. But if we are able to get back up in here, we can start talking about some higher targets. Zoom out a little bit. I don't want to talk about, 65K is going to be big, but until we get back up here, there's no reason to really look up there. Once you get above the value area low, flip this into support. Potentially, we could open the door for a bigger test of 63 to 64 to 64, 65K, which of course gets very close to our macro value area low. So I would say this is really the range to look at. Oh, look at that. Boom. Shouldn't have deleted that golden pocket. There we go. Nice pop. Probably shorts getting squeezed. Of course, nobody can stop people from shorting the exact low. But yeah, this will be the next big level. If we can continue up, maybe we could push into this zone. Once we flip that, I really do think maybe start heading up towards the PLC. We'll check in probably before we get there. But let's see what happens when we come back up to retest this resistance. This is definitely going to be, when you have major support on the way back up, it's going to be major resistance. And then your full Fibonacci retracement, I hesitate to put this on the chart together because this is a huge zone, right? So, yeah, it's really hard. Like, I don't want to give you a zone between 60,800 and 62.2. So we'll see. Hey, what are you doing? Don't do that. She's just like chewing on the doorknob. Don't do that. Well, I'll take you out in a second. I know you're getting antsy. So yeah, we'll see. If we continue up, watch this zone. If we can push above that, just understand you have your full fib from the lower high to the low. It's going to be an important level to look at for the lower high if we don't put it in here. And then once we get above that, 64 to 65K would be the next big level to look at. I don't necessarily anticipate that we're going to rip all the way to 65K by tomorrow. If we do it tonight, right, very unlikely, I'll just drop a market update for you guys. But definitely watch this next key zone of resistance. And to the downside, of course, $58,000 is still sitting down here. So lower high, lower low could be in the cards. Maybe we wick into that golden pocket 786. But at the end of the day, if we can't get back inside this profile, guys, there is no reason to be looking all the way up here, right? If this ends up being a lower high and a lower low, 58K is very likely next. Does that make sense? It's happening. Oh, my God, what was that? If I had to guess what that was, guys, I don't have XO charts open. It's going to take a minute to load. I would assume that was probably shorts getting cooked. Do I think there's a higher probability of people strong? I could answer the question if I had XO charts open, but do I think there's a higher chance of people being like, Bitcoin's cheap, I'm going to buy it, and that's pushing price up? Or is there a better chance that people were trying to FOMO short at the bottom, and now they're all getting squeezed out? I'd probably have to say the latter is more likely, unfortunately. But yeah, low time frame, I do think, right? Got the SFB of the low. Not impossible to see a little bit of a local bounce, kind of like yesterday, right? Not impossible to see the local bounce, but lower highs and lower lows are more likely. Almost the same exact situation as yesterday with the key levels sitting just below us. If something changes tomorrow, we'll recheck in with you. If it looks like we're going to continue through the profile, we'll talk about that. But just simple volume profiles can keep you on the right side of the trades here, guys. Flip the value area low. Next highest probability area for price to go is going to be the POC and the value area high. And even if we get up to this value area high, it could still end in another lower high. Does that make sense? But we'll take it level to level. I don't want to leave you guys with too much. Biggest zone sitting right here. Flip it. We'll start talking about the higher levels. And I will check back in with you tomorrow right here on the Frank Candles YouTube channel. Loaded up my spot bags, IDGAF. Let's go. Shout out to Rudy. Crazy loud alarm. Shout out to Anon. I don't know what alarm you're talking about exactly. Does my Discord have a free trial? My Discord has this, which is the dining room. You can get in here, come to unlock access, read through these rules. If you use any of our exchange links in the description down below, you will get unlimited free access to this. It's not a full featured premium, but what it is you get one post per week. Just to kind of shout out the last post, had the short set up from $65,000, which brought us back down to about the low here. Almost played out in full so far. It is not a signal, right? I just share the post that I put in the premium. We do this every day in the premium where I talk about my trade setups. We do local scalps, swing trades, day trades, all that stuff. I talk about all my personal positions. Also very educational. We do much more intimate live streams where it's like, there's obviously not as many people in the Discord as there is on YouTube. I can answer people's questions more directly, and we focus more on building you into a self-sufficient trader. So you get the personally fed trade setups, the confirmations that I want to see to enter them. But it is not a signals group. But this is the free trial. You will never get kicked out of this. You can stay in as long as you want. But just come in here, go to unlock access, read through the how to get in, and just give us like I think Tony D said it might be instant now, but just give it like a day, 1 to 2 days for Tony to get you in if it's not automatic. So if it doesn't happen like the next day, just give the mod some time to get you in there. And then you'll be able to come in here. And we got a few different exclusive channels in here, but I think the one that people are most interested in is checking out what the premium is. So there you go. And just like that, Bitcoin's never going below 60K. Oh my God, she's pushing. All right, well, now I can't get off. Why does this have to happen as I'm ending the live stream? This is ridiculous. All right, well, we'll see. I honestly got to go. Lucy's losing her mind here. I got to take her out. She has not pooped or peed in hours. But there you go. There's the key zone. We'll see if we push into it. And, hey, if we start getting like a massive move, maybe I'll drop an emergency market update later tonight if something crazy happens. But you guys got all the key levels. Thank you for being here. I appreciate every single one of you guys for hanging out with us here. It won't go down forever, guys. It won't go down forever. Maybe the bottom's in. I don't know. But thank you all for tuning in. I will see you guys tomorrow. Trade safe out there. Use a stop loss. And don't pull your fib and drive. What the F is this scamwick? Shout out to Gloray. Shout out to Jesse. Shout out to Darren. Shout out to the mods. Thank you guys for holding it down. Dusty Hunt, Nick Dunn, Alex Becko, Raptor Ducks, Ace, and last but not least, Pennywise. Thank you guys for being here. I will see you tomorrow. That's all I got. Don't you know, pump it up. You got to pump it up temporarily. But I'll see you guys tomorrow. Asta pasta. Frankie Candles out. Bing bong.
Here we go, at the top of the class on a roll, and it's time to run it up, yeah, you know. Maxed out, put the pedal to the floor, ayy, on the road, here we go, yeah, we winning by a landslide. Never see me coming on my landmine. Yeah, I ain't taking orders in command, like, yeah, you about to see me on demand, like, you know, on demand. If you ain't know, you about to understand. Yeah, I got the team by my side, right hand. Yeah, take it to a string, you ain't seen it like that. Yeah, and it's the dream, and we coming for the bag. Yeah, and we ain't ever going back now. Future expedited, now we on the fast track now. They won't lend a hand, now they see us on the map now. It's time to act out. Here we go, at the top of the class on a roll, and it's time to run it up, yeah, you know. Maxed out, put the pedal to the floor, ayy, on the road, here we go, yeah, at the top of the class on a roll, ayy, and it's time to run it up, yeah, you know, yeah, maxed out, put the pedal to the floor, yeah, on the road, here we go, here we go. Here we go, at the top of the class on a roll, and it's time to run it up, yeah, you know. Maxed out, put the pedal to the floor, ayy, on the road, here we go, yeah, at the top of the class on a roll, ayy, and it's time to run it up, yeah, you know, yeah, maxed out, put the pedal to the floor, yeah, on the road, here we go, here we go. Here we go. On the road, here we go, here we go.
Hit him with a woo, 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 woo. Good girl. Asta pasta. Bing bong. About to hit that golden pocket, baby.